But no, so I had a sound mixer for everything, and then I spent hours and hours and hours last weekend trying to get it to work properly, and I couldn't get it to work. And I got so frustrated. Like I started tinkering with it Friday, and then we played Magic Friday, and then I started tinkering with it more Saturday morning. I tinkered with it till my guests showed up in the afternoon. He tried to help me do it. We had the show, and then I tried to tinker with it for another 3 hours before going to my buddy's place till 2 or 3 in the morning. Then came home and tinkered on it for another 2 or 3 hours.
What are you doing at your buddy's place until 2 or 3 in the morning?
I tried to leave at 12:45. Nothing good happens after midnight. No, I tried to leave at like 12:45, but then we just started talking because we hadn't seen each other in like a year.
Oh, okay. It was a catch-up. It was a catch-up sesh.
Yeah. And then, it had just snowed, so it was like 30-minute drive home or something like that. So it was a little bit of it. So I came home and I was like, fuck, I got to do more of this. So I started tinkering again, and I still can't figure it out. There's no reason why only one mic should have line fed and the other ones don't.
I don't even know what that means.
So this was the only mic that was putting audio in.
Oh. How did you, this is working now, obviously.
Yeah, so what I did is I have Y cables that I throw into the camera up there, and I just decided to buy a second Y cable so I can have 4 mics for the panels. But because I had a switchboard, I had 12 inputs, I had 4 outputs, so I could line in here, line in there, line into another audio, line into another recorder. Like if I wanted to, if a guest wanted to record on their own, they could do it. But I even went as far as unplugging this one and only plugging in those ones, and then still nothing, and then trying the different ports and still nothing, and amplifying everything, turning it down, putting on phantom power. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, this should
This is reminding me of I think before I went to college, I got a gift from my mom and then stepdad, and there's a set of really nice monitor speakers made by a company called PSB. Or no, I had gotten those the year before, and then I was like, I want a subwoofer.
Yeah.
Because these weren't I think they weren't hitting the notes in T.I.'s Rubber Band Man the way I wanted them to. So I was like, all right, I got to get a subwoofer.
Yeah.
So I got the subwoofer and wanted it to work that day.
Yeah.
Right? But I didn't know that I had to buy a cord for the subwoofer that go from the subwoofer to the receiver.
Your auxiliaries, yeah.
So I just took more speaker wire and jerry-rigged it from the, it was like plugging 2 things into one outlet and thinking everything's going to be okay. So I did that. It worked for 3 songs and then completely fried the subwoofer. No. But, yeah, I think we're past the statute of limitations at this point. So I just brought it back. I was like, I don't know what happened.
Allegedly.
Got a new one. And then that one lasted for 5 years before it blew out.
Did you not have a, I can't remember what the board is that you plug everything into and then run all the cables from the head unit back and then into the sub?
Oh,
an
amp?
Yeah.
No, it had this subwoofer had an internal amp, but it's not meant, it's meant to use the sub. Yeah. I was just like, maybe if I hook all these wires up, something good will happen.
So you didn't try to do it to the head unit. You tried to do it to the speakers using the same outputs.
Because it had, the blue and red, the left and right on the sub. So I put it into that, and then I ran it back to the receiver, and just doubled it up in a port. Yeah, and so.
Oh no!
It was great for 3 songs, and then after that,
I got lucky with that stuff because my cousin knew a lot about it. We had a sub that went between. My cousin Chris had it in 2 cars. My cousin Nick had it in 2 cars, and I had the same one in 2 cars. And we'd always killed the car that we that had it in last. So that
Wait, what? Could you describe what killed the car means?
So my cousin Chris T-boned, he hit a light pole and then pulled it out, put it in something else. Yeah.
That kind of
And
kill.
then my cousin Nick put it into a Sebring. He killed the Sebring, put it into his Jeep.
Well, thank God for that. I mean, Sebrings.
Oh, yeah. It might have been a Sea Breeze, actually.
A Sea Breeze, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they stopped making that
early 90s.
after, the incident.
After the incident. The kids were trapped.
Yeah.
And then I put it in my first RSX. I crashed the first RSX. That's where I got all these scars from. And then I threw it in the second RSX. And then in the second RSX, we proceeded to just keep upgrading the system. So that car lasted I think that system lasted 15 plus years.
Did you, speaking of vehicles, that Focus.
What about the ST?
Is that yours?
That's mine.
When did that happen?
Monday.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't even put it on social media yet because they waxed and everything like that. I was going to put it up and everything like that. And on the way home, it was like super wet out. And then I was like, this is a fucking shitty ass wax job. Like, it's terrible. The wax job on it was horrible. So It just looks water spot. So I was hoping for like a day where it would all get washed off again so I could get photos of it and post them on like media and stuff like that.
So you're going from the all wheel down to the 2-wheel front wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that been?
Most of the cars I've ever had have been front wheel. I had one rear wheel drive car. I had a truck. It was my first vehicle.
Well, that's a little different. You take it's a vehicle with a turbo that's 2-wheel front wheel. I remember reading reviews on that because they don't make a lot of turbo hatchbacks. There are like 4 of them.
The GTI, the Mazda Speed 3, the ST, and there's a Volvo front wheel drive. There's a Saab.
You're talking about the C30?
I think it might.
Yeah.
And then that's a rear wheel drive though. Or all wheel. Yeah, it's either all wheel or rear wheel.
They make it in all wheel and front wheel.
Okay, so they do it separate. And then there's also the Saab. I think it's the 9.5. That's got a Cobalt motor in it. And then there was obviously the Cobalt, the SRT4.
They're not even making
those were things
Saab
though.
anymore.
Those were front wheel drive turbos.
Yeah.
There's been a bunch of them, but yeah, the hatchbacks.
I like them.
270 horsepower, 257 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah, the car only weighs like 800 pounds.
It's half your truck. I haven't beat on it yet. I'm waiting.
Yeah, as you should. You just got to let it stay nice for a little while, and then once you get like that first ding in it, you'll be like, "Fuck it, I'm dumping this clutch every chance I get."
Oh, dude. Well, so what happened is like I saw that they posted it on not this past Monday, but the Monday before, because I keep looking because the Subaru was dying, and it was going to cost me like almost $3,000 to get everything fixed to get it up to snuff to pass an inspection. So I was like, "Fuck it, we're just gonna bury this bitch as deep as we can." so I keep looking on Car Gurus. I got a list of cars I look for, and I found it popped up on Monday, and I was like, "Man, that's right in my price range." I was like, "I bet you I can get that shit." So on Friday, I got out of work a little bit early, so I flew down there, and I'm in my work gear, and the kid's like, "Hey man, what are you here for?" I was like, "ST, let's do this." And he was like, "Oh shit!" I could tell this kid was green.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, man." So we get in the car, like we're walking around the car, and I was like, "Oh, is this the one with?" And I'm listing off all the stuff. I was like, "Oh, it's got the optional 8 in the back." I was like, "That's a nice feature they've added." I was like, "Does this have the sunroof?" And I look and I was like, "Oh man, they cheated on the sunroof. That's probably why they got the sub in the back." And he's like trying to like give me what he doesn't know about the car, and I can tell that he doesn't really know how to deal with someone who knows stuff about cars. Not to say I know anything about cars. And then he's like, "Oh, these are the racing seats, right?" I was like, "Yeah, they're Recaros." And he goes, "Yeah, these are Recaro seats." And he goes, 5-speed manual transmission. I go, 6.
See, it goes to 6.
So I'm just like listing it up. I was like, "Oh, is this the one that they switched with the German transmission?" But I'm just giving him the list, and I'm like popping hoods, checking out shit. I was like, "Oh, they already undersprayed this car," and blah, 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 blah. I was like, "All right, man, let's take this for a drive real quick." And he's like sitting in the car already, and the plates on the dash. I was like, "Do you wanna put that up real fast so we can go?" He goes, "Oh yeah, my bad." He goes, puts the plate on, and
sounds like he was nervous.
I think he was.
Yeah.
So like we get to we're leaving the lot, and I'm doing this thing or the car's going back and forth, and he's like, "So, what do you
think?"
And I'm just like, he goes, "You seem to know a little bit about these cars." I was like, "Dude, I don't know anything about cars." So we hit the road, and he's like trying to talk to me, give me the sales pitches and stuff, and I just dumped it as hard as I possibly could, floored it out, and tore it down the street. As soon as it hit his like 4,500, I slammed on the brakes as hard as I could, and he just goes, and he's like 2 or 3 inches from the dashboard, and then I watch him go, "Oh man, that was really good. It's got some good acceleration, some good brakes." And he plugs the seatbelt in. I was like, "Do people not test drive cars anymore?" He goes, "No, usually they do stuff like when they get home. Like that's when they try to test it." I was like, "I'm gonna test drive the shit out of this real quick."
Yeah, you test it now.
Yeah. So I like take this like loopy road and stuff like that, and I'm doing all the shit, and we get to the end, and I was like, "Oh man, this is a really good car." I was like, "I really like this thing, man." And he's like trying to talk, and I like dumped it as hard as I could, floored the ass out, tore it back up there, and we get to the parking lot. I was like, "All right, man, let's go talk some numbers real fast." So we like walk inside. He disappears for like 60 seconds. He appears out of nowhere, and he's just got cold sweat all over his face, and he's like, "Oh man, do you want some water or something like that?" I was like, "Yeah, man, water would be good right now." And he just like walked away. He came back like 3 minutes later, but the cold sweat got me. I was like, "This poor fucking kid."
Usually, so you broke them down in a different way than I typically do when I look at cars. Usually, it's not during the test drive, but by the time we get to the test drive, the person that's trying to sell the vehicle is usually like, "This guy's not buying this vehicle," because because I just walk around the vehicle and you don't say anything. You just like point at minor imperfections. You just go like,
You're that
guy. That's not gonna buff out.
I don't know what's worse, that or me. That's terrible.
Well, the worst is doing both of them.
Oh, Jesus.
So start just tearing the vehicle
Nitpicking
down,
it.
and then just see if I can pop the tires by burning out of the line, something like that.
That's what I did
That'd be
too.
the
I was
ultimate worst.
oh man, the front grill's cracked. I was like, that's a huge disappointment, man. Like, just making a big deal about it.
Yeah. Well, you have to.
Making that water. Well, they were nice. They gave me about $1,000 more than the car was worth.
Oh, for the Subaru?
The Scooby, yeah, because the trade-in on that was between $1,200 and $1,500. They gave me $25 for it.
Honestly, that's what year was that?
07.
Yeah.
97,000 miles on it. It was still baby.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was still baby, dude.
I mean, when I sold mine, it was a similar situation. Like it needed a lot of work to get it so it would pass inspection.
I feel like that's one of those trendy things with Scoobies. Everybody loves a Scooby. They last forever, but they just have that big maintenance perk at some point.
Well, mine was the computer stopped working. The computer just stopped working. I needed a new computer, and I took it to, I took it to East Ave Auto, and they were real fair with me. I mean, they were like, we want to try to buy a used computer because we don't think it's worth it to buy a brand new computer because it's a $1,200 part.
Yeah, you're talking about like going to Wilbert's and buying one or something.
Yeah, so I was like, whatever. You buy a used computer. And they bought a used computer. I think it was like $250. Put it in the vehicle, and it still didn't get it done. It didn't solve the problem.
Did it happen out of nowhere that the computer went?
It's a check engine light came on, and then they started, diagnosing it and changing sensors and tracking everything down. And then they're like, yeah, we think you just need a new computer. So the used one didn't work. So the problem didn't get fixed. They didn't charge me for the computer that they bought. Like they had that.
Because they can reuse it on something else anyway.
Well, they had that vehicle for probably 2 weeks of doing.
Holy crap, dude.
Of doing some, doing work on it for 2 weeks, and then when they basically said, "Look, I'm sorry, I don't think we can fix it," or it'd be like at least a $2,000 repair.
Damn.
They're like, well, pay us for the oil change, pay us for the taillight that we put in. I walked away for like $85.
Holy shit.
And then I ended up, but when I traded it in for like $1,800, which I was pretty happy with.
Yeah.
Because what was it? The first offer I got on the car was like, oh, we'll give you $250. I was like, get out of here.
Get your ass.
Yeah,
Just shut your
get
butt.
out of here. So getting $1,800 for it was good. And then I've been happy with the truck so far.
Yeah, you've had that for about a year now?
Yeah, coming up on a year.
Yeah.
This is the first, I've driven trucks for work before, for the past 5-6 years, but never owned one.
Well, I made sure too when I was doing research on what to get. Like it was stuck between like a Nissan Juke, Countryman, ST, Speed 3, GTI, and then there was a couple other cars littered in there that would be like conceivable for me to enjoy driving.
Yeah.
But the hardest thing for me was like if something breaks, I want to be able to try and repair it myself. Mm-hmm. And like that GTI's gone. Can't do it.
Yeah, not at all.
I've worked on German cars before. I hate it. It's a fucking nightmare. And then like it was mostly between a Speed 3 and an ST, and it's really hard to get a Speed 3 because the last year was 13, I think it was. And then the ST started, I think it was like 11 or 13, one of those years. It's in that same ballpark, but I got lucky as shit with that car.
Yeah.
Because I kept finding them like plus 16, like 16,000 and up, and my budget was 15 flat because they kept trying to like wrap me in all this stuff. I was like, my payment needs to be under 300.
Yeah.
So I'm only spending $10 more a month right now than I was on the Scooby.
I am spending significantly more on the truck than I was on the Subaru, but I was still happy with how I ended up, what I ended up paying. It was a fair price, and
You got it brand new, right?
No, it's a 14.
Oh, okay.
It's 14. I got it with like 50,000 miles on it or something like that.
Okay. But you don't do that much driving though.
No, not much. And then if I have mileage for work,
Yeah.
I get reimbursed for it.
Oh, that's super convenient.
Yeah, I mean it's all just around town, but every couple weeks it's like $150. Yeah.
Can't complain about that.
Yeah,
Now this is the tradition for the show. Is I take a
yeah.
shitty selfie. It's just they're so shitty. These selfies. This camera's so goddamn bad, dude. I don't think we're gonna recognize you. Oh, my fucker. There we go. That was the fastest that's ever happened.
Really?
You should have seen last week's
That
episode.
felt really slow.
Dr. Brew was on, and we probably spent almost 40 seconds trying to get it to take the photo.
Dude, you got to get a new phone.
Dude, this phone is a turd, man.
Yeah, it is a turd. What kind of phone is that?
It's a blue. It's an Amazon phone.
Oh. Well, they make good versions of that phone. Do you just buy a cheapo version? Yo, you got to plunge that shit. That's been
Dog, plunge
that's
it.
been cooking
You're
for
an
way-
adult.
it's
You're
been
good.
cooking for way
You
too
can make
long.
adult decisions.
I don't want to overstep my bounds. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know what the rules are down here.
Make yourself at home. That's the rules.
All right. When do I take my pants off?
If you have to take your pants off because I turned the heat on, you are more than welcome to.
What kind of coffee is this?
That would be from Canal Town. That is their Colombian blend.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. He gave me the rundown on all this stuff. Support.
Want me to pour for you?
I got some in there. You're good.
Cool.
Thank you, sir. Twitch. Oh, I should tag you in this, shouldn't I? There you are. There's Charles. I
Oh
got
my.
you, buddy. I got you.
This is adorable.
What? This is my favorite part because
Yeah.
the guest doesn't know what to do because I haven't figured out a better way to do this yet.
I mean, the better way to do it would be to do it right when we sit down.
I know,
Do it
but usually
beforehand.
everybody's like so anxious. Like if you don't start right then and there, they get super anxious about it. Like I've had one or two where we've sat and we've talked for a minute,
Yeah.
and then at some random point I just reach over and click go, and then they have no idea that we're going, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're here. Oh yeah, by the way, Life on Records Live Stories Here in Town show presents Charles Yarrington.
So,
Isn't he so handsome?
oh, you're sweet.
Oh my God, look at us. We're on there and on there.
And what's the delay?
So the delay is so that
there it
way,
is.
like I can boot people out or something like that, or it's just an upload delay from right here because
Oh.
that's live.
Okay.
This is my private one. This is the one I load into YouTube. This is the better quality one, and this is so like people can see us right now live. I don't have very many views, but it's gonna take some time. I just started live streaming like 3 weeks ago.
Well, it's cool. When you started doing this, I thought it was a cool idea.
It is a cool idea.
Talk to people.
It's hard.
Get folks over here.
I'm just hitting the point where like I'm booking out a month and change out, and I have to slow myself down from booking too many weeks out, because then people lose track,
People
they lose
forget about
gumption,
it.
they get forgetful about it, and then like I remind people anyway. It's just kind of what I do.
Yeah.
Like on Monday I remind them, and then like Monday or Tuesday, and then I'll remind them again Friday, and then whatever else comes through. But I'm trying to not thin myself too much. So hold on. Smushwell streams, Twitch, Twitch.tv, Life on Record Live, powerlifting. What federation did you lift in?
USAPL.
USAPL. Oh, one of the original one.
I think, is it?
Yeah.
Well, the original one is IPF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
International Federation of Powerlifting. That's enough. That's enough of those. I don't need too many of those. I was gonna write shits. The shit show, the Stories Here in Town show. That's right. Oh fuck! I said it out loud. Damn it! That's the joke. That's the joke. You never say the name of the show. Fuck, Kyle.
Is it Life on Record or is it the Stories Here in Town show?
The network is Life on Record. The show is the Stories Here in Town show.
Okay.
Because I also run Magic Under 20, and then I also run a panel series.
What is Magic Under 20?
So Magic Under 20 is my nerdism. It's Magic the Gathering. I make budget decks for under $20 that are competitive.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's another series. I run that on Fridays.
Now, something that you may not know about me is that in my younger days, I used to play that game.
Did you see the table out there?
I did not notice it.
Okay, so the table out there has like 180 decks on it.
Wow.
Before you got here, I was just finishing tuning to more decks.
I had one cohesive deck.
What'd you play?
It was a Merfolk.
Oh, you son of a
deck.
bitch!
Yeah.
I hate Merfolk.
It was a counterspell Merfolk
hate
deck,
Merfolks.
and I had the way you know how those decks work.
Was that mono blue with like the Lord of Atlantis and stuff? So
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just super aggro.
Yeah.
When everybody played Merfolk,
It's like,
I played
that's me.
Slithers.
Yeah, that's me.
Slivers.
I don't know what Slivers is.
Slivers is similar to Merfolk, except every single sliver affects every other sliver. So like you would have the sliver that pumps all slivers. You would have slivers that give buffs to defense. You'd have slivers that give first strike.
I do remember
flying.
Slivers.
Yeah. Slivers were what Merfolk wanted to be, except they were slivers. You can make them untargetable and blockable, and they all affected each other, every single one of them.
Interesting.
So you could drop one on turn 1, turn 2, you'd have a bunch of 2/2s. You drop another one on turn 3 with another little one over here. Now you got 3/3s with flanking. Turn 4, everything's got unblockable.
My little brother just got back into Magic. Like he bought he bought some decks, and he sent me a picture, and he was like, "Dude, I forgot the anticipation of opening up
I hate
a new pack."
I hate it so much. Like we drafted a couple weeks ago, and I bought too many packs because I thought we were gonna have more people here. So I have a whole set. I think I have like 12 packs back there that haven't been opened yet, and like I'm trying to figure out if I should just try and sell them on Craigslist real fast and get rid of them, or open them up. I'm like, I don't know, because it's such a risk. Like you make money, you might not make money.
Yeah, well, it's like anything.
I know, it's just I hate it. I would rather buy singles online.
Well, because then you know what you're getting.
Yeah, because that's how I do all of my decks. Like that's the big stipulation is like we have a real limited restricted list and a real limited ban list, because essentially the decks are all under $20. So it limits a lot of shit.
Yeah. I wish I still had that deck.
Merfolk are a pain in the ass. Merfolk are worth some good money now.
Well, I don't know where it went. I had it in like a little plastic blue case, and they were all in their little things, and I can't remember where they went.
If you know that your parents might still have some,
I think my mom threw it out.
I doubt it. Your mom might actually know where it is. You should ask her, because if you have old cards, chances are they're probably worth money.
I have asked her. She has no idea. Well, because my brother, he started playing again.
Oh shit!
He started playing again, and then he was like, "Dude, where's your Merfolk deck? He doesn't talk like that."
Dude, that's what exactly it sounds like.
He's like, "Dude, where's your Merfolk deck? I want to play again."
Oh shit!
And he just it's nowhere, Graham. I don't know where it is. I'm sorry.
He goes, he doesn't sound like that.
Yeah.
I realized in my anticipation I didn't post on Facebook as well. I'm just gonna literally write it.
Oh my god, dude, my body's still jacked up.
From today?
From the meet initially, but then I did a bunch of dumb stuff this week, like trying to learn how to do Olympic lifting, and then I was messing around with an 800-pound tire yesterday.
I was stalking you the other day.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was in the cardio area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, I can't really do much. I still got a couple weeks left of not really doing too much.
Yeah, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I think it's funny how when I saw that you tore your bicep, I was like, oh, he definitely did it in the gym. But it was like a freak. It was like a freak thing.
Yeah, because it's less than 2% of all bicep tendon tears are the ones down here. They're all up in the shoulder.
Yeah, that's right. Usually when people tear their biceps, it's deadlifting. Mm-hmm. It's their underhand, and it goes and sprinkles down by there.
Well, see, I got lucky. He said when he the reason the scar's so small, well, it's now overinflated because I've been doing occlusion to pump it up. Mm-hmm. So I fucked with the scar already.
Of course, yeah, of course.
But he said when it happened, it was literally just sitting right there.
Oh, so he just had to like.
Yeah, so he just cut a little bit, stuck his finger, he found it, and he just cut down a little more so you could see the bone, and just went. Bleh.
Yeah.
It was like I went to the gyno with my arm.
I've been lucky. I haven't really had that many injuries.
I thought you had a leg injury or quad injury at one point.
I tore my MCL in high school, like my freshman year, but it was snowboarding, and apparently when you tear your MCL, they're like, oh yeah, you don't really need that one anyway. So they didn't do surgery.
You don't need something you're born with.
I always thought it was weird, and it's different. Like when I squat and it gets heavier, my right knee will travel inward more than my left knee, I injured my right leg.
Yeah.
So, my knees will cave, but the right one will cave more, the one that was injured.
That's super odd.
Well, it makes sense. The MCL is the tendon that's on the, if like this is your knee, it's the one that's over here. So if that's not there,
Yeah, it's got interior flexion. That's odd.
Yeah.
I was telling the wife this story earlier today, and she goes, why are you so mean to people? I was like, I was trying to be nice. So I was at the gym the other day.
I don't think you're mean to people at all.
I was watching this broad squat. I'd never seen her before, and she kept doing the chicken knee thing. So she would go down, and then when she would come back up, her knees would go. They would just buckle in aggressively, like inches inward.
Yeah.
And she would do reps like that, 3, 5, 8, whatever the hell it was. And she did like her third set of that, the knee buckle thing. And I walked over and I was like, hey, watch your knees. Try and tip them out just a hair. I was like, you're going to snap something real. And then she goes, no, I got this. Like, I know they're doing it. Like, bitch, you fucking know you're doing it. Yeah. Like, it's happening. Stop doing it. And then I was like, I'm just trying to, look out for you. Like, don't hurt yourself while you're here. Just press your knees out. Like, open your knees. And she made some other comment. And I looked at her. I was like, don't flatter yourself, honey. I'm married. And I walked away. And I went over to Cheese. She's just standing there. He goes, what'd you say to her? He goes, you look like you just shit in her cereal.
It's funny, man. I've had to learn this over since I started training in powerlifting, that it's fun to lift heavy.
Oh, Splenda cream?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay.
It's fun to lift heavy, but you have to. There's a powerlifter named Joe Sullivan that is really solid that talks about rep quality. And if the quality of the reps you do is high, and if the quality of the reps you do, even all the way up to like 95% of your 1 rep max are high, you can handle more volume and be less prone to injury because the quality of the reps you're doing is high.
Yeah, it's like the people who say stop lifting once you get compromised, essentially.
Exactly. And I'm not one of these people. Once I get above 95%, stuff kind of starts to go haywire, especially on my squat. Which is why, I had to take 2-3 months off squatting last year. So going into this meet, I had incredibly low expectations.
Well, this is your second meet, right?
This is my 4th meet.
You've done motherfucker.
Yeah, well, I did one. The first one I ever did was a WNPF meet, which was kind of Mickey Mousey. Then I did my first USAPL meet, went really well. I think I went 8 for 9, 7 for 9, 8 for 9, something like that.
Okay.
Then my 3rd meet, which was my second USAPL meet, went pretty poorly. I only went 5 for 9. And then this one that I did last weekend, I went 8 for 9.
Wow.
And it was good. I mean, it was my best meet to date, but I severely underestimated how good my squat was going to be on that day. Because I hadn't been able to squat very much, and I had to like change the whole way I squatted. I started wearing squat shoes and really just changed kind of the cueing for it. And I wasn't feeling that good going into the meet. So I was like, I'm not going to set a PR squatting at all. Excuse me.
You're good.
But so I went in saying like, all right, I'll open it like, and my best squat in the gym was 515. I was like, I'll open it, and my best squat in the meet prior was 480. So I'll go in at like 440 and then jump to like 460 and then maybe to 470. Well, my opener went super well. My second was faster than my opener. And then my buddies were like, whatever your third attempt was going to be, increase it because these are too easy and you're trending towards taking a ridiculously easy third attempt. So I increased it to 480, which matched my meet PR and expected it to be really difficult, but it moved like marginally slower than my second attempt. Like
shit.
Yeah, I probably had 20 or 30 more pounds in my squat.
Wow.
So
that's huge.
I just completely underestimated what I was going to be capable of.
Well, what have you been doing for squats then? Because obviously you had to change it. You had to get on a west side.
Yeah. Well, I just stopped for a number of months. Like I didn't squat for 2 or 3 months.
So what were you doing for quads then, and hams and glutes?
Whatever I could. I mean, I kept pulling sumo. I kept sumo deadlifting. And then I tried to do a lot of hamstring work. I think one of the things that I try to avoid is like muscular imbalances. Like you see a lot of powerlifters walk around, their shoulders are all hunched forward and their palms face backwards instead of, typically everything's balanced.
Yeah.
And then you run into like impingement issues in your shoulder, and the same thing happens in your legs. Like I had really bad knee pain. I think it was patellar tendonitis. I think it's because my quads were getting a ton of work. They were getting tighter and tighter and tighter. The way I was squatting, I would break at the knees, and then at the bottom, my knees would glide forward, and then I'd come back up out of the hole, which puts a lot of so like a shear force in physics is when two things move opposite each other. So I think it was putting a lot of shear into my knees. So the way I changed it was a hips back first approach to squatting with a heeled shoe and a much slower descent. Like I used to kind of crash into the hole, and then, it's harder to, the more speed you're carrying into the hole, it's the more force you have to turn around.
Yeah, I was just going to say you got to turn it around.
So I slowed it down a little bit, tried to break at my hips first, and started using squat shoes.
Yeah, the squat shoes make a huge difference. People sleep on those.
Well, some people don't. I mean, a lot of people just don't use them. I found that trying to go hips first in flats, it was just harder for me to get to depth. Like it was more uncomfortable for me to get to depth, and it didn't really change. Going to a heeled shoe didn't really change my positioning that much, but made getting to depth easier.
Yeah, because it's also kind of like you're kind of leaning a little more forward, so it's easier for you to fully sit back confidently because your body's kind of shifted.
With with a heeled shoe, you'll tend to be a little more upright than a flat shoe, but not a lot. And it's so funny. I mean, if in a flat shoe, say you just can't get to depth and you're missing it by a quarter of an inch or a half an inch, then you may only get another inch out of a heeled shoe, but in order to pass in competition, that's all you need. So
it's not so bad. See, I'm trying to figure out what this safety bar squat shit's going to do for my back squat.
Dude, safety squat bar is no joke.
I hate it, dude.
It is hard.
I hate it.
It is so
much.
hard because the even if you go down easily, there's a camber in the bar.
Yeah.
So not only are you more upright, which means you can't use your back as much.
Yeah, that's what I'm noticing.
When you go to stand up, because the center, that weight is away from your body, you go to stand up, your shoulders stand up, but the weight doesn't want to move, and then you get pitched forward.
Yeah, I was gonna say your back kind of does this little hunchy thing, and then you got to kind of drive it up and then stand up.
Yeah,
with
you really have to fight it.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass, dude. I think the heaviest I've gone so far with the safety squat bar was 485 without bands.
Yeah.
And that, like, it wasn't hard, but it wasn't by any means easy. Like, it went down, it went up. But it wasn't like, I'm like, oh, yeah, I can throw like 30, 40 more pounds on there. It was like, wow, I am probably at the max right now for that.
Yeah. I think the most I've ever done on the safety squat bar is like 450, 460.
It's absurdly hard. People liken it to front squats. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, no, it feels worse.
I can safety squat way more than I can front squat, but I think it's because my front rack position is not very good.
Well, do you rack like a powerlifter?
I cross my arms. I need to start learning how to properly get into the front rack.
If you're gonna be getting into those Olympic lifts.
Yeah, which I'm trying to do a strongman meet in May.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, it should be fun. And all the events I'm not really worried about, except for one.
You're just going to go in and do some shit. Log.
Well, there's no log. Here are the events.
Okay.
There's, what is it? There's a deadlift, just a max deadlift, conventional, obviously.
I was going to say, wait, why did you switch from conventional to sumo?
That's a good question. My best conventional pull was 550. And yeah, you were there for that.
Yeah, I was there for that.
Yeah. I got yelled at for bringing you back there.
Yeah, by Mike.
No, by Ron.
Oh, wait, Ron yelled at you for that? I thought Mike yelled at you for that.
Well, he didn't yell at me. He was very professional. He was like, "Hey, man, like, if you're gonna bring people back here, it's kind of not cool because I wasn't making you pay, and now you're bringing people back here. Yeah. So,
allegedly,
you can keep coming back here, but I'm going to have to ask you to start paying." And I was like, pay for a service? Wow, that's extremely fair.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
So
Yeah, because how did you get in with those guys back there to start lifting back there?
I'm just a friendly guy.
You just kind of slunk back there and you kind of melded in?
Well, exactly what I did was I noticed that they have bumper plates back there. I asked a trainer, I can't remember who it was. I was like, "Hey, can I deadlift back here?" He's like, "I don't know. You got to ask Ron." So I asked Ron, I was like, "Hey, is it okay if I come back here and deadlift once a week?" He said, yeah, sure, no problem. Just clean up after yourself. So I did that for a while, just only on deadlift day, went back there, cleaned up all my stuff, and usually cleaned up some other stuff too while I was back there, and then did the rest of my stuff out in the main area. Then a couple times I'd come in to squat, and in the main gym, there were no squat racks, but I'll just go back to the CrossFit gym. And then that trend kind of continued. I'm back there more and more and more. And I think he noticed, but didn't really say anything.
Yeah.
And then that one day I was like, "Kyle, come on, let's go test the deadlifts."
Yeah.
And he was back there and he didn't say anything then. But the next time he saw me, he was like, "Hey, you got a minute?" So that was pretty much it.
Yeah. It could be worse. Could always be worse.
It was fine. I like lifting there. It's a good group. East Ave Barbell kind of trains back there too. Mm-hmm. That club's been growing too. I think we have as many members as the CrossFit.
No shit.
Now. Yeah, starting to get busy. We've had to buy. I think we have a legit Texas deadlift bar. We have 3 Ohio power bars, and that's all stuff that we've purchased semi-recently. I mean, one of the Ohio power bars is the one that me and my buddy Dave split.
Yeah.
But anyway, pulling conventional, I liked it. I was, decently strong with it, but I found it really hard for me to recover from that because my back just rounded awfully whenever I got heavy on conventional deadlift. So that would mean two things. The first is that on a given day, pretty much over 500 pounds, my back would start to round pretty bad. When you go that far out of position and then you have to, straighten it back out at the top, you're not really supposed to move that way. So it was really taxing. I only had 2 heavy pulls in me like a day, which is just not enough training volume to really make any progress. Then the other thing was on following days, my lower back would be torched. I mean, if I had to squat within 3 or 4 days after deadlifting heavy conventional, forget about it. It was just a joke. My back was so torn up. So I decided, and after like reading about sumo and seeing people pull sumo, they're like, oh yeah, it can be a little bit easier on your back. I was like, okay.
Well, yeah, because you can start up straighter.
Exactly. Your starting position is more upright, and if you get out of position in a sumo if you get out of position in conventional, like rounding your back badly off the floor, you can muscle through it and finish the lift. If you get out of position like that in sumo,
it's not going anywhere.
You can't complete the lift. There's a smaller margin of error when you're pulling sumo. So I tried to switch and really just jumped into it too fast. My volume was too high too soon. I started getting hip pain, ignored it. And then, one day I was pulling doubles at like 475 or something like that. And they're just awful. It's super painful on my hips. And I was having a hard time locking out 475 sumo. Now, granted, this was a year and a half ago, so I've made progress since then. But
and you had just probably switched maybe a couple months before that.
Yeah, maybe a month and a half or so. I just went. This is what I did. There's a deadlift program called MagOrt, which is an abbreviation of Magnuson Ortmeyer, which is 2 really good deadlifters. And they made this program, and it's pretty high volume, pretty high intensity.
Yeah.
Basically, you work up to a heavy double, maybe a couple heavy doubles, and then you do back off sets of 4x4. But it's a lot, and it's heavy. So I was like, oh, switching to sumo for the first time? Yeah, let's do MagOrt. That's a good idea. So that was not a good idea, and I had to stop. Like, I couldn't make it through the program. My hips hurt too much, so I went back to conventional. And then after my second powerlifting meet, I decided I wanted to try it again. I was going to move my feet all the way out as far as I could.
Yeah, and touch the plate. That's what I was
like, whatever. Going semi-narrow hurt my hips. I don't know why this would be, but maybe going super wide or as wide as I could would help my hips. And it did. And I was a little smarter this time. I would do most of my training conventional. I'd only pull sumo once a week, and I really didn't do a ton of volume to start, and then just kind of eased into it. And then, yeah, like I told you earlier, today I pulled 605 sumo, which was awesome. I never pulled 600 pounds before.
I was gonna say, that's an MGym PR right there. That's
yeah,
a crazy
and,
PR too.
Yeah, it was like 30 pounds.
It's a huge PR, dude.
No, 20 pounds. But it was good. It was good, and the pull was clean. Like, it moved well. My positioning was good, and my back probably isn't even gonna, like, I'm probably not gonna be that sore from it.
Do you get any like IT pain or knee pain or anything like that from this? Because that's the only thing I get from, like, when I go through a 3-week cycle of sumo, is the I can't remember. Part of my knee hurts, and then my hip hurts. Not my front, the side
of your knee.
Like the IT bands hurt.
I mean, doing sumo deadlift is more quads to start. I mean, it's more of it's more of a squat movement. So one of the things that I did leading up to this meet was get a lot of volume from my accessories. And if I am squatting and doing sumo deadlifting, that's a lot of quad work with kind of auxiliary posterior chain work just built into those movements.
So you got to overwork your hammies.
Yeah. So I did a lot of hamstring work on bench press too. Like, I did a lot of back. Like, I did some kind of back work every single day.
That's the secret.
Pull-ups
right there.
every single day. And my shoulders felt awesome. My hips and knees felt awesome going into this meet. Like, I didn't have any aches and pains, which was fun. It ended up being a fun meet. I also didn't cut weight for this meet, which I think was helpful. It was
because you've been doing what, 195 for the past few meets, and now what did you do this time?
the first meet I ever did is in WNPF or like RPS or USPA. It's 198, 220, maybe 275, and then you get into like 308s and then super heavies. But in IPF affiliates like USAPL, it's in kilograms. So it's 93 kilos, which is about 205, 105 kilos, which is about 231.
Okay.
Then 120 kilos, which is like 260 something.
So where'd you compete? 105?
I competed at 105, but I weighed in at like 99 kilos. So I weighed in, 12 pounds light for the weight class. But it was still good.
How big was that meet?
It was big. There were like, I think there were like 80 or 90 lifters.
That's huge.
I pulled my last deadlifts at 9 p.m.
Whoa!
Yeah, we got there at 11. That's another thing about these powerlifting meets that if you haven't done one, it's just so much different from the gym because you're not in control of the schedule. You don't get to decide when you go. When it's your turn, whether you're ready or not, like you got to go.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So we got there at 11, weighed in at noon, started lifting at 2, and I didn't pull my last deadlift till 9 p.m.
So have you noticed that your squat stance has gotten wider since you started to sumo?
No, not at all.
Really?
Yeah. My squat stance stayed pretty similar. They just feel like really different movements to me. If anything, I don't know. I was going to say my squat's more like a conventional deadlift than my sumo pull is. Because,
that's odd.
Well, my sumo pull, I have a pretty upright torso, and it's just a pretty standard sumo pull. But the way I squat, I'm relatively tall for a power lifter, and I tend to be pretty bent over, and it's a low bar squat. So no, it stayed pretty much the same. I was really happy with my squat, man. I'm excited to see what I can hit at the next meet I do, which might not be till the fall. But
so how's your bench then? Because obviously your bench was questionable here or there.
I've never been a great bencher. My previous best bench at a meet was 275. And then my best bench in the gym was an awful 315 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, I pretty much bounced it off my chest. Then on the way up, my ass was way off the bench. Like it's a lift that was just horrendous, and I'm glad that the footage has been lost to time. Yeah.
The internet.
Yeah.
We'll dig it up.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't even know if I posted that one because it was such an embarrassment.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, then bench is the lift in a powerlifting meet that is least like what you would do in the gym for fun, because there's lots of commands. Yeah. You get the unrack. There's a start command where you are allowed to start lowering the weight. Then you have to pause it and hold it on your chest until you get a press command. And then when you get that command, you pick it up, and then you have to wait until they give you a rack command, and then you can put it back. So there's a lot to think about. In this federation, your heels can't come off the ground, your head can't come off the bench, and your butt can't come off the bench. So I was really happy with my bench this meet. I had a 303-pound bench, which is not very good for how much I weigh.
Yeah, but going from the squirrely bench.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It was technically solid. It was pain-free, and it was 28 pounds more than I had ever done in a meet before.
That's huge.
So I was pretty happy with it.
That's good, though. So your programming's working for you, obviously.
Yeah, and it's funny because the programming I did going into this meet was the least structured programming ever. Like, I didn't run a program. It was super simple. Basically, months ago, I started doing 5 sets of 10.
Okay.
And then started relatively light. Then I would do those sets of 10 and linearly progress, like adding a little bit of weight each week until my 10th rep on my last set. I was like, that felt a little squirrely, a little too hard. Then I would go down to 5 sets of 8. Increase the weight a little bit because I'm doing fewer reps. And then same thing, just linear progression. Got too hard? Let's go down to 5s. Same thing, linear progression. Getting too hard? Let's go down to triples.
Yeah.
Linear progression. And then...
so were you adding weight week to week, or were you adding weight throughout the workout each week?
week to week.
Okay,
you know,
okay.
like I'd go. So for instance, if I was doing sets of 5 on bench and I started my sets of 5 at 245,
Yeah.
I do 245 a week one week.
Oh, got
then
it,
I
got it.
do 255 the next week, then 265, and maybe the third week, and then maybe 265. My last set was a little too hard.
Yeah.
I'd be like, all right, time to do threes, and I'd go to 270. I'd only add 10 pounds, even though I'm doing 2 less reps.
So you didn't really you weren't planning for 5 weeks and then rotate down for 5 more weeks and then rotate for 3 weeks.
It was really by feel.
Just whenever it happened, it happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Move on.
Whenever it happened, it happened.
That's not a bad way to do it.
The way I thought about it is, I'm doing good work. The rep quality is good, and I'm still doing a lot of accessory work. Like I was doing pretty high volume accessories. And then leading up to the meet, I think I did a week of doubles, and then 3 weeks out, I did 5 singles for squat, bench, and dead on 3 different days at a weight that was roughly my opener, maybe a little bit more than my opener. Then the next week, I did 3 singles, squat, bench, and dead on 3 different days at a weight that was around my second attempt, maybe a little bit more than my second attempt.
Yeah.
And then I took a week off, and then I did the meet, and it went great.
It's always so weird, that week off thing. I always feel like you would come back just like tired, like stiff and tight.
I think that it's not like you don't do anything. I still went in and I would stretch and move around and do, what did I do? Like on the Monday before the meet, I still went in and deadlifted 500 pounds because I just wanted to feel it. I wanted to practice getting into a good position and keep a feel for it,
Yeah.
But really, you're only going to do stuff in that last week to make yourself weaker. Like you're not
tapping it out at that
You're not
point.
You're not going to gain strength that last week. It's just it's just not going to happen.
No. So generally, I like to talk further back. So I mean, obviously, we've been ranting a little bit like this, but how did you get into weightlifting? Like everybody and their mother has eventually at some point got into like the gym and the fitness and stuff like that. But as someone who lifts heavy weight often and gets injured all the time, I always like to ask other people, why did you decide lifting heavy weight was what you wanted to do?
Well, I knew that it didn't start with lifting heavy weight. It probably started with being a very bad football player, being really undersized. My freshman year of high school, I wrestled, and I don't think I won a single match my freshman year because I'm 6'1".
Yeah.
And my freshman year of high school, I was probably 5'11". I wasn't that much shorter. I weighed about 215, 220 pounds now.
Wow.
Well, no, that's how much I weigh now.
Oh, I thought you were saying that. I was about to be like, you were a big kid.
No, but then I wrestled at 120 pounds.
Holy shit.
I was tiny, man, tiny. I got my ass kicked. And then, I always played baseball too. That was more my sport. Then when I got into high school and baseball got more serious, the head coach of the varsity team was Jim Capilupo. And he was a big weightlifting guy.
Yeah.
He was about training. He'd say lots of stuff like, you can't control how tall you get, but you can control how strong you get and how wide you get. And
yeah.
You can, it was good motivational stuff, with, kind of loosely grounded in reality. Like you can outwork talent. Well, that's not totally true, but it's a good thing to hear if you're like me and you're not a particularly talented baseball player. It's like, well, it doesn't matter how good I am now. I can work harder, I can get stronger, I can get faster, and I'll get better at baseball. Mm-hmm. And then, you remember when you first start training and you first see that you have a bicep muscle. or
yes.
And as soon as that happens, it's like, boom, you're hooked, man. That's it. You're like, this actually works. If I go in and do this, that's all I have to do, and then I'll get stronger. Mm-hmm. And presumably chicks will like me more. I'll get better at sports.
That first one is false. The first one could not be more wrong.
So that was really it, And then by my senior year, I was one of the stronger, we'd have these weight competitions, lifting tests. You do a bunch of stuff to failure, like body weight bench to failure, squats to failure, stuff like that. And I was one of the stronger guys on the team. Mm-hmm. Then I went to college and got on, was a recruit to play D3 at RIT baseball. And I just kind of kept going with it. I was like, well, I've been doing this. I like it. It's part of what I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep training, keep trying to get stronger. And I'll say, like, the form of all my lifts at this point was terrible. Like,
yeah, because you don't have somebody teaching you or anybody spotting you. Or
I was not squatting below parallel. My deadlifts were probably like that cat back conventional deadlift that I ended up moving away from. And my bench was with my ass way off the bench. But still, you keep at it. And even though it's shitty, like, I did get stronger. And that was it.
I've always noticed, too, that there's that weird ballpark where it seems like everybody can get to, and then it's so hard to get over those humps. So, like, most people, you go in the gym long enough, you're going to be benching somewhere between 185 and, let's say, 245, 275 at the most.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the ballpark. And that's a huge range. But, like, most people just see the weight flying around, and they're like, oh, it's not so hard. And then you'll see the people doing the super cockamamie stuff like this.
Yeah.
And they're not going here, or they're going here, they're slamming on their chest. But it seems like almost every single person is able to get to that area. And it's the same thing with squats. Squats, the area is like 275 to 315.
Every guy can squat 315 if they put 10 to 12 months of effort in.
Well, it's the same thing with the deadlift. The deadlift is somewhere in the low threes. Yeah. And that always fascinated me with how it just seems to be this physical trend that there's a constant wall that hits, and then most people will never pass that wall.
I think it's because of, and it's an easy thing to get into, just wanting to lift more weight and be stronger. And I get stronger by lifting more weight, more. I just want to lift heavier, like ego lifting in the gym, if you would call it whatever you want. But if you don't take the time to get technically good at the lifts, your rep quality will be so low that you can fuck yourself up pulling a 315-pound deadlift awfully.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's what happens. The rep quality is so low that even though these people progress a lot, they'll reach a point where, because of that poor rep quality, they'll
that point of diminishing returns or something.
They'll maybe hurt themselves, or it's like what I found with conventional deadlift. I was stuck at low to mid 500-pound conventional deadlift for a long time, but it was because the rep quality was so poor, I couldn't do it often enough to progress, because I would just be fried from doing it.
Is there a reverse hyper in that back room?
There is.
Oh, you sick bitch.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's one of the best pieces of machinery ever made.
Yeah, it's great. Dude, you should just join.
I don't have that money, dude. I don't have. And then you can only work out at 7 p.m.
See, I do whatever I want.
Yeah, I know. Because you're Charles Yarrington. You get away with everything.
Well, no, I'm just grandfathered in. Yeah. When I struck that deal with Ron, it was like, all right, so what am I buying, Ron? He's like, you can use the CrossFit room.
Yeah.
It was like, well, so I can use whatever I want back there whenever I want to use it. He was like, yeah, sure. And I took that to heart.
That's literally the only piece of machinery I want to use. I just want to use that machine. Yeah.
I'll say this: you would like how nice the barbells we have back there are.
I fucking believe you, dude. Well, I noticed a lot of people. So you guys must have recycled old bars from the back room there, because
they moved some out.
Well, two deadlift bars surfaced on that side of the gym. They're not very good deadlift bars.
I checked those out.
People bench with those.
So they're not deadlift bars.
They're not squat bars, and they're not bench bars.
They're just shitty power bars.
What do you mean? But because they don't have the center knurling in them.
Then they're old shot Olympic bars.
Oh yeah, because they wouldn't need the knurling for the neck then.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So they're not deadlift bars. There's only one deadlift bar in the whole gym.
Yeah, you guys got the Texas in the back.
And it doesn't even belong to the club. It belongs to a guy named Joe. Joe's strong as fuck. He's competed at the Arnold a couple times.
Oh shit.
I think in the 171-pound weight class around there. He squatted in the mid fives. He's deadlifted 620 and benched low threes. I think he's a strong dude.
That's really good, especially at that body weight.
He actually switched over to single ply lifting, which is really interesting to watch. It's looks very hard.
Well, because single ply gives you the bench suit, and then you have the single ply thickness singlet, right, for squat and deadlift.
It's you can have 3 different suits if you want. It's a bench shirt, a squat suit, and a deadlift suit. But
I didn't realize that there was 2 different suits for deadlift and squat.
A lot of people just deadlift in their squat suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the same thing. Support for your hips. It's not. If you ever handled any of those, they're not stretchy at all.
No, they're very dense. They're like my slingshot.
It's it's canvas.
No shit.
They don't stretch. So that's why, like, they talk about, oh, if you can't get to depth in single ply or even more so in like multiply, add more weight. The weight will
get you down there.
Yeah.
It's like with the with my my slingshot. I have the black one.
Yeah, the full bore.
Yo, yeah, it's so funny because
no, that's the Mad Dog.
the Mad Dog.
Yeah,
I have the Mad Dog and I have the full bore. The full bore, I can put 135 pounds on it and bring it to my, like I can pull through to my chest. But the black one, if you don't have 405 pounds plus on that thing, it is not going down. It'll hit the point and you're just like, oh, fuck, shit. And then it's super fun.
I forgot you had that one.
I love that one.
I think I read that is supposed to, it gets you almost to what a loose single ply bench shirt feels like.
Someone was telling me too that like as I keep getting injuries and stuff in my hips and legs and stuff like that, to eventually just buy a pair of squat pants.
Who told you that?
I don't want to say his name. I'm not gonna put him under the bus.
Why do you think it's a bad thing that he recommended that?
Well, because I don't know how I feel about it. Because like obviously these are the ones that goes up to like your nipples or something.
No, they're just like squat briefs. They go up to like your belly button or so.
Yeah.
I've had a guy tell that to me before. His name's Mike Hine. He's a coworker of mine.
Mr. Mike.
Mr. Mike. But I mean, there's something to it. Like, sure, it protects your hips and makes squatting easier. But he's like 60, and I think he did his last
60.
powerlifting meet when he was in his mid 50s. But he competed single ply.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So it makes sense for a single ply lifter to squat, either in a squat suit, or if they don't want to go full single ply, just throw a pair of briefs on.
Yeah, which
It's
I
not
thought about.
It's not like I do raw powerlifting, so it's just not very specific to the training that I'm doing.
The only thing it would do is help you learn to overload.
Yeah. And maybe, I think that I've always thought that your training is silly.
My training?
Yeah.
It is silly.
I know, dude.
It's super silly.
You'd get injured less and stronger if you just ran something
I don't like programs.
sensible.
I don't like programs. I get so bored, dude. I get so bored.
Before you popped your bicep, how much have you put on your squat, bench, and deadlift in the last 3 years?
Okay, so before I tore the bicep, let's see, 3 years would take us back to 2015 roughly. So my deadlift would have gone from 525 to 625. But that happened over the course of like 4 or 5 months. Because before we go any further, I'm going to preface this with I still made the same mistake year in and year out, where I would spend 3 months getting as fat as humanly possible, spend 3 months starting to diet, and then another 3 to 5 months shredding as hard as I possibly could, and then maybe 2 to 3 months maintaining.
Yeah.
So I made that same cycle. This was the first year that I had declared I was like, I'm not going to do any hard dieting. I'm just going to kind of like build, take a small step, build, take a small step, because I've noticed that that's what fucks me up, because there's only a sweet spot in the year for each where I'm like getting better at those lifts than I was the year before, which is why those gains have been so small. So in 3 years, that deadlift's only gone up 100 pounds. The squat went from 475. I did a 585, and I hadn't tried anything heavier than that.
That was with knee wraps, right?
Yeah, I used my my one ply knee wraps. I did that in Florida, and then my bench hasn't been as good as it ever was when I was in Florida, because that was 405 in Florida. Up here, I think the most I've hit without any gear or anything like that was 375 or 380. But I had tore my pec twice and I tore my labrum once. And that was right at the beginning of a diet cycle. So like this was the year where I was like, I'm going to fucking focus and I'm not going to really worry about how fat I get or anything. Just going to kind of do the cycles and lift and get stronger. And then
I think you should let me program for you.
I don't want to program. That's the other thing too, is I was literally like, I'm about to start doing like a pseudo West Side thing.
Just because you get bored, just because you don't like it?
That's why I'm looking into West Side. Like a West Side style. So like what I said for myself was I would do 3-week rotations for deadlifts. I would do 3 weeks of deficits, 3 weeks of sumo, and 3 weeks off boxes. And then I would do an actual deadlift and see how it worked. And for back squat, I would do 3 weeks off the rack, 3 weeks on bands, and 3 weeks on box squats. And then I would do a week where I would check it. And then for bench, I would do 3 weeks of flat with dead stop pauses, 3 weeks with bands. 3 weeks with bands, 3 weeks with decline, and then 3 weeks with decline with slingshot. or 2 weeks with decline slingshot and go to flat slingshot and then do a test. So like a 10-week kind of collab. But obviously this stopped me.
Yeah, obviously.
Which is a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Because the other thing too that I had started to look into was I was like, am I not doing enough accessory work? And then I literally started to transition into caring more about my accessory work, making a bigger difference. And like I did 5x20 at 275 bent rows. And then the next week I did 5x12 at 315. And then the following week I did 5x10 at 365 on bent rows. Mm-hmm. So I was like figuring it out because I noticed like I always spend so much time pyramiding, which I don't have a problem with pyramiding. I love pyramiding. But it's one of those like maybe I'll do one less exercise and focus a little more on the lift that I'm actually doing that day. Because I would try to get in like 3 back accessories and a bicep pump movement. And then for chest, I would do like 6 chest movements and 1 tricep pump because I would hit them again at the end of the week or something like that. So I was spending so much time just trying to make sure I hit the lifts rather than focusing on the work that I was doing.
All I'm saying is if you've been having the same issue for years, like running into injuries and whatnot, take a look at your training.
They've always been different, though. That's the problem. Because I did the pec tears within 3 months.
That just means that everything you do is fucked.
Well, yeah, it was this was over 3 months. The knees, it went super bad for 6 months and then went away completely. And then it switched to hips, and then that lasted for like 8 months, and then that went away. And the low back, that was so bad that I had to stop deadlifting for 9 months when I was in Florida. And then that kind of resolved. I haven't really had it since, and I can always feel it coming on, so I stopped doing that shit to try and like force it not to. This is why like I T-bar row and I put the bar on a box. Mm-hmm. So that way I don't have to do it off the floor because that's where it fucks me up.
I think you should try some actual programming.
I did. I quit.
I know. That's the problem.
I just like the week before I got hurt, I was on week 7 of a program, and I was actually enjoying the program because I was seeing the results. I like seeing weight on it every week, whether it be heavier or more reps. One of the two.
The quote program that I laid out that I told you about that I did leading up to this meet.
Yeah.
You add weight every week.
Yeah.
It's a linear progression. That's the whole point of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it this is where you would need someone to be like, that rep sucked. You're going down in reps next week. Mm-hmm. Like that's it for this part of the linear progression because it's like that. Mm-hmm. You know, that's where you would need someone that you would actually have to listen to. Because I think that you would just keep adding weight and weight and weight.
Yeah.
And eventually the rep quality would get worse and worse and worse and worse. And then you'd just like smash into a brick wall.
Well, that's kind of how my deadlift program was before when I hit the 625 was I did 3 weeks of, I did a week of 8s, a week of 5s, a week of 3s. Mm-hmm. And the goal was to do more weight than I had the week before. And then if I'd continued that cycle, whatever I had for 8s, the next time it would have been 5 pounds more. That would have been the goal. But so I did the 3 weeks, the 8-5-3, and then I switched to deficits and I did 6-5-4. And then the following week I deloaded. Like I didn't really deload. I went to like 550 or 545 or something. And then the following week, that was the week that I did my peak and I went to the 625.
I think seeing this laid out graphically, like in a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Because what you just said, okay, week to week to week, you're going heavier and heavier, and you're going heavier and heavier each week, mm-hmm. but you're going down in reps each week.
Yeah.
So your volume tapers immediately. Like you start tapering instantly right away.
Yeah, you're able to finish that part of the workout as it goes on faster.
So what I would suggest is instead of adding weight each week and going down in reps, sandbag your first week. Be like, I know I'm gonna be able to do all 10 of these reps mm-hmm. for all 5 of these sets, and it might not even be that hard. Start there, and then each week add 10 pounds or 20 pounds depending on what it is. Mm-hmm. But stay at the same. You're still doing 50 reps a workout.
Yeah.
That way, your total poundage moved. You're doing more weight each week. So you'll get that. You'll see more weight on the bar each week.
Yeah.
But also your volume will go up for at least 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, at least, 15, 20, 30 pounds a week.
Yeah. So then when, rep quality starts to suffer, then at that point, you're like, all right, I'm going to go down and do sets of 8 or 6 or whatever. Mm-hmm. You're going to step back down and then do that process again. And what you're doing is you're building this long period that will take 16 weeks.
If that, yeah, and then some, yeah.
Yeah, to build up to, the week where you're hitting heavy singles or something like that.
See, I don't necessarily think most of the problem with getting stronger is the program. I think it's with the accessory muscles, like the ancillary muscles. So like bench, everybody focuses on bench. But you and I can both testify that the biggest gainer to bench is back.
I think that the prime movers in bench are always going to be your pecs and your triceps.
Yeah.
But if you focus exclusively on your pecs and your triceps and don't work your back, you'll get an imbalance and you'll start to be in pain. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to move heavy weight when you're in pain.
Well, there's your stability too. It all comes back when you're in the bench. It's ground into the bench. It's right there. It's holding everything, stabilizing, going down, letting you stabilize your elbows, and then the press off.
Yeah. Like being stronger is always better.
Yeah.
Will you be a better bencher with a stronger back or a weaker back? Probably a stronger back. Mm-hmm. But the prime movers on bench are never going to be your lats.
But most people neglect them. It's the same thing.
But you still have to do them.
It's like deadlift. Deadlift, you get strong traps and shoulders, your deadlift's going to go up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
squat, same thing, hams and glutes.
How did you get into working out?
I'm gonna go pee and I'll tell you.
Cool.
You talk. Tell them private stuff that I'm never gonna find out about.
You have the video. I wonder what people usually talk about while he's gone. Should I leave him like a little note? I think he needs a haircut. He should definitely get a haircut soon. You think he bought this mug or got it for free? Survivor, Panama, Exile Island. When I first saw this, I thought it was a Jurassic Park mug. And then I read it more closely. It's not a Jurassic Park mug. You can't see that, can you? How about that?
Tell them all the private stuff.
All I told him was that I think you're due for a haircut.
I just got a haircut. Like 2 weeks ago.
Bro, you need another haircut.
Get the top trimmed a little more.
It's too long.
That's what I told him last time too. I was like, man, take it down like half the distance. And he took it down like a third. I was like, all right, I guess it's fine. Because that would have been what?
You're just, you're just lucky you're handsome anyway.
Damn it. Yeah. What if I was bald? Would I still be handsome?
Yeah, absolutely.
Terrible.
With that haircut, it might be more handsome.
Oh, goddamn.
Oh, shit.
Is it that bad? Oh, it's all swishy. That's what it is.
It's very swishy.
It's very swishy. You should have seen. You were there when I was wearing the hats at the gym all the time.
Yeah.
Did you realize how long it was?
Under there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I saw you take your hat off.
Yeah, it was bad. It was like down to here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty long. I just didn't want to cut it.
It was goofy.
I was rebelling from childhood sort of disdain because my parents always made me cut my hair every 6 to 9 months, and I was like, I'm a fucking adult.
I can do what I want.
Shit out. And then my wife got on me like 4 months in about cutting it, and then I proceeded not to cut it for like another year.
I always think that I'm lazy and stingy about certain things.
Yep.
One of them is haircuts. I don't want to spend a bunch of money on haircuts, so I only get a haircut once every 3-4 months, something like that.
Yeah, I go every 6 to 8 weeks now. It's easy for me. It's $20. Who cares?
And I always toy with the idea of like, I'm going to grow my hair out. It's going to be sick.
You're going to have beautiful hair? Do it, Charles.
And then I start growing it, and it's annoying.
It's got that long period of time where it just sucks.
It's just awful. I look horrible. And my hair is like it's very voluminous, and it gets wavy too.
Yes.
So it's not like it just gets long and straight and gets all flowy like that. It's just like it grows out, and then you have to get to the period where it's out, and then the weight will bring it over, and there's no...
The worst is when it hits your ears. That's the worst part, when it grows and it just starts to and then it kind of dances outward a little bit and it just camps there like little canopies. Yeah.
I had a rat tail when I was a kid.
Oh, you're so cute. You had a little rat tail.
I had a little rat. It was a bowl cut rat tail combo.
And nobody told you about that being a bad idea?
Well, I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
We just called it my curl. That was it.
So I always liked like the muscle shit when I was a kid, like Conan and all that
Like
stuff.
gay for pay?
Yeah, like gay for pay. No, like Wetworks. I pee on grown men for money. He said, "Men, we are men seeking a man." But like I was always fascinated with all that stuff, and I was super tiny all the way through middle school, high school, shit like that. You know, everybody's same childhood story, except like I was 4'5", 65 pounds in middle school. I was a tiny, and then in like 9th grade, I ended up hitting like 4'8". I was tiny. I was a little kid, but I started lifting.
Did you say you were 4'8" in 9th grade?
Yeah, I was tiny, dude.
Were you,
I graduated high school at 5'7".
really?
Yeah, I was tiny, dude.
Yeah, you were late, real late.
I
How
had
tall are you? How tall are you now?
I tell everybody I'm 6 foot, but squatting has shrunk me.
Oh dear.
So like if I don't squat for a long time, I grow.
You'll grow?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get taller again.
Get decompressed.
I'm anywhere right now between like 5'10" and 5'11", but my driver's license says 6 foot, and I insist on that.
Good. That's what you want.
That's what you want. That's those big expectations.
Yes.
But like, I wish when I was in high school that someone had taken the time to give me proper training protocols. Because like, I don't hold it against anybody because it wasn't like if you weren't in that world, you didn't understand that world. So like the programming that I knew was you do 3 sets of 10 on like 7 to 8 different things. And that's it. And they weren't like
Circuit training.
yes,
Essentially
that. And we didn't do a lot of it, but that's what I wanted to do was that training. So like during winter season for track and field, we would get in the gym twice a week, but you only had like 45 minutes to work out before you had to go run 5 to 10 miles or something like that. So you would get in there, you try to plug. And then senior year, I was like, after cross country, I was like, yeah, I'm done. So I would go work out 3 days a week in the school gym with a buddy of mine. And then when they would have gym option to go work out in the weight room during the school year, I would do the same thing. But I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, dude. I got to college. I still didn't know what I was doing. I would randomly just do stuff, trying to figure it out. I would do like full programs. And then I started like reading all those mags and stuff like that. And you're like, I'm going to do this. That's how I'm going to look like Brandon Curry. Yeah. So you would do all those programming. And like, I thought I was huge, dude. I thought I was massive. I look back, I was like 140 pounds. I was so small.
I remember those days.
It sucked, dude, because I wasted all college, too. Same thing. I think I might have graduated college at like 150 pounds. I was still so tiny, and I would eat so much because I got in with like the cooking people, like the diner hall people, and they would always have like, they allegedly have sandwiches and stuff in the back hallway that they would leave there for staff that they could take on the way out, and I would allegedly take the whole tray back to my dorm.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Or like I would ask for a giant bag of milk, like the 5-gallon bag of milk, allegedly.
The powder, no, the actual milk.
The real milk, yeah. So like I would get away with murder there. I'd bring Tupperware containers in. I'd allegedly put food in the Tupperware containers, throw them back in my bag and shit like that. So like I was trying to get all the meals I could because I only had, I think it was 12 meals a week there, and then I'd have whatever's in my pantry. So every time I'd go, I would bring food for the whole rest of the day. That's what I would take with me, fruits and sandwiches or whatever dinner was. It didn't matter. I just stuffed it all in my bag. And then, excuse me, what was it, like post-college car accident, took me out for like 8 months, started lifting again, same thing. So it was like the progressive build of bullshit. And then even when I moved to Florida, I still didn't know a damn thing. I didn't start learning what to actually do till like 2014, 2015. And that was because of the guys that I was working out with. Everybody was getting stronger together, and then we were all getting very strong together, and then we were all getting super strong together. Like I had one kid who I saw when I used to work out at the Rack who I noticed, and I was like, how the hell is he able to do that shit? He's like 5'6", 150, 60 pounds. Like, he's a small guy. I used to watch him rep 405, and I thought that was the coolest shit ever. And he was like, no, if I can do it, you can do it. And I was like, nah, man, there's no way.
Which is a great attitude to have.
But it was he was just like, yeah, man, if I can't. I was like, nah. So I was like, you know what? All right, I'll try it. And like, I was like, in the next 2 months, I'm gonna deadlift 405. And to that point, I think my max had been 275. So 8 weeks later, 405. Fuck yeah, keep going. Another 8 weeks later, pulled 500. Didn't pull 500 again for the next 2 years because I couldn't do it. I just couldn't get in there. I just got out of my own head. It's weird, but yeah, that's the little cycle. So like for me, it was one of those like, I love team sports. I'm awful at team sports. I love golf. I love, tennis. I love pool. I'm terrible at everything that requires coordination. Weightlifting doesn't require very much coordination. It requires learned movements.
It's a really simple, like powerlifting is so simple.
Yeah.
It's like the simplest sport.
The concept is there, but it's a good solo sport too.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you that, team sports, I played baseball, it's a team sport, but I was a pitcher and I was a closing pitcher. So I kind of did my own thing. Like, obviously it's a team and you need your team to make plays when the ball gets put in play and everything. But when you're on the mound, it's kind of an island, you know? And I forgot, it was some MLB guy said that when you're pitching and things aren't going your way and you're having a bad game, it's like the loneliest sport in the world.
Because everybody recognizes
you're you're just in the middle of the field fucking up in front of everybody.
Yeah.
I also wish that I had someone earlier on in my training that were like, no, you got to stop doing this and do it the right way. You got to stop doing this and do it the right way. And because I lifted for a long time. I started lifting in high school. Then, like I said, got more into it in high school and college and whatever. But I didn't start squatting to depth until late 2014.
Yeah, let's see. When did I start squatting? 2013 was when I first put a bar on my back to squat.
Yeah, and I didn't start benching the right way until, it was really around the same time because I did my first ever powerlifting meet in June of 2015. Yes. Wait, was it?
I was so small in college that I used to bench with my hands on the inside of the knurling.
Yeah.
That's where my bench was because I just wasn't wide enough.
But like when I think about all the years of training, how long I stayed at, just squatting really in the mid 300 pounds and deadlifting in the mid 300 pounds. And I was just there for a long time. And then since I started training for powerlifting, my deadlift has, before I pulled 500 pounds for the first time, my deadlift's gone up by 200 pounds. My squat's gone up by 150 pounds. And my bench, I don't even know what I was benching properly before because I wasn't benching properly. But it probably went up by, realistically, I don't know, 85, 100 pounds.
That's huge.
Yeah. But I just wish I'd started doing that earlier because I'm young in the grand scheme of things, but in terms of like when men hit their growth spurt and are, have all that testosterone in their body for the first time, like those years, I didn't make the gains that I could have made.
Crucial years.
Yeah, and now I'm 28 and stronger than I've ever been, which is awesome.
But the nice thing is you've still got a linear progression up. You still got the next 8 years.
Very true. Very true. And technically the lifts are getting better. Rep quality is going up, which means I'll be able to do more volume without running into the aches and pains that usually people run into and get sidelined by.
Well, see, I don't know if you really noticed it too. Like even the best coach from my high school, who I would watch him with his athletes, like he was strong. Like he wasn't us strong, but he was strong. So like that put it into perspective for me as an adult. But like he would even coach these kids into certain methods, and like I didn't even understand what the hell he was doing. I don't really think he knew what he was doing either, even though he was fit. Like he would just walk in and everybody would be doing 8s or something like that, and he'd be like, "All right, we're doing 3s." Like just out of nowhere, and it's like, well, that's not that's not a program, that's not a progression, that's not a ton of this shit. Like there was very few people that I knew in high school that actually lifted properly. Like my buddy Eric was a fiend.
I didn't know anybody in high school that lifted properly. It was the it's the same thing because to a certain degree in middle school and high school, it's more important to get interested in it. Like we're kids. It's more important to get interested in it, start moving around and make it a part of what you do. And then, maybe.
But imagine all that wasted time, dude.
No, I get it.
Yeah, it's just.
But imagine yourself as a middle schooler, someone saying, stop what you're doing. You have to do this, this, and this because of this, this, and this, and you have to do it, and you have to do it now, and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, you're referring to form over function. Yeah, I'm referring to function over form.
Well, no, I'm referring to if an authority figure told me that in middle school, I'd be like, fuck you, I ain't doing any of that shit. No, seriously, it'd be off-putting. It's just someone coming in and just bossing you around. That's not the way to get kids into a sport. Make it fun.
Yeah.
Make it fun. Make it safe, and then people will weed themselves out, and maybe people will stick with it. Maybe people will go away. It's fine. They're just kids trying to figure out what they want to do. But I just know that I don't think I would have reacted to someone saying, no, you have to squat to this depth. Maybe it's because I don't take direction well.
Yeah, very solo sport guy. See, I would have just rather somebody been like, all right, well, why don't you do this for chest day? Like, just do these exercises. I'm not going to give you much more than that. Just do these exercises. As opposed to being like, go in and you're doing 8 different body parts for 3x10. You know, how about you come in today and then you're going to do benching these reps and then you're going to do some dumbbell pressing, some chest pressing, some flying, and then you're done for the day. Like, that would have been way better for me than 3x10 because that's what drilled into me all throughout college. It took till like end of my sophomore year to be like, wait, this is not the best way to do that.
Yeah.
So that was 6 years. I had already been like in the gym doing shit, doing it wrong.
It's fun, man. I like training.
It's a game, dude. Especially when people get injured and they're like, oh, I got hurt, I can't do it. I'm like, what do you mean you can't do it? Work around it. Do something else. Have fun with it. That's the best part about the weightlifting thing is in the gym. That's the most fun. It's the eating and stuff like that. That's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And I love, some people hate training and love competing. I love training. It's fun. You can do whatever you want. I don't really love competing that much. Like, it's stressful. You don't have, you're not in charge of the meet. Like someone else is. Someone else tells you when to lift, and there are rules to follow. And I had a deadlift called no lift in my last meet.
I remember that one.
I locked it out, and it was like at the lockout I did like this, and there's no lift. Bad lockout.
And that's what I don't get is like that. How do you know that is a bad lockout? What if that is how you lift?
Then you shouldn't lift that way. That would be the answer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Stupid. Like it I get all the regulations and stuff because as these different federations pop up, they want to separate themselves from the other federations. So like I'm a big believer with the benching too, that it should be unracked because I'm the worst at this. Like if I unracked right now and you were like, go, I would be taking like 5 more seconds holding the weight to make sure I'm 100% right.
You don't have to go when I say go.
Oh.
You just can't go before I say go. So like you could unrack the weight and then it could be start, and then you'd be like, whew, whew, and then go. Like there's a guy, the best raw squatter in the world, Ray Williams.
Oh, Ray Williams is a fiend.
Yeah, he'll stand there, get the squat command, and then take 10 more breaths and talk to himself.
He's so huge.
And then, yeah, dude, the guy weighs over 400 pounds.
He's so powerful too.
He's a beast. My buddy Dave met him and said he was really nice
He's
too.
probably a sweetie.
Yeah, he is. That was awesome.
That's what I like about the community too, is everybody gets that whole wrong idea that everybody's a dick.
It's an awesome community.
I'll tell you who the dicks are. The ones who look like dicks.
Who looks like a dick?
There's a lot of people who look like dicks. If you come in and your ego is parting the sea of people for you to get through before you're there.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah, you're just an asshat.
I understand what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of the good group of guys there in East Ave that we train with, and then it's fun when I go do this meet. Like I don't have a coach. I don't have a handler that comes with me.
Your counsel.
And neither do my 2 buddies that competed last weekend, Dave and Nahid. But we all go. We all know each other's lifts, so we all kind of help each other out and give feedback. And
it's a nice little clan to have too.
Yeah, it's fun.
I saw you in that sexy little singlet of yours.
Oh yeah,
those
you like
legs
that?
were looking good, man.
Oh, looking pale, looking white as the driven snow.
Tanning bed's right around the corner from where you're training. You might as well just get that in with round 2.
I've thought about it. I thought about dipping into that tanning because I'm so white.
Yeah,
who's whiter? Right.
It's probably you. No, it's me right now.
Wait, get your non-tatted.
Yeah, it's me.
Wow,
dude. Yeah, you won that. You won. Good. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
That's a big accomplishment.
That's a huge accomplishment. Oh man,
that's terrible. So I did want to know though, where were you born and like what was your childhood like then? Because I'm figuring you're from Rochester, right?
Yeah, from Rochester. Was born at Strong. Lived for a couple years in the 19th ward. Like I was a baby.
What the fuck is the 19th ward? Is that in Strong?
No, it's on the other side.
Oh, I was gonna say.
No. It's a neighborhood in Rochester. It's on the other side of the river. And then my dad got mugged, so they moved to Pittsford.
Shit.
Yeah, he had me in a stroller walking me, and some guy whacked him in the head with a pipe. Took his wallet. He had like $6 in his wallet. Then they moved to the house I grew up in.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so went to Pittsford Sutherland High School. Then went to RIT and was there.
Were you athletic when you were a kid, doing a lot of sports and stuff, or active, or games and stuff?
It's funny. Like in the moment, I never thought that I was, But when I look back on it, I'm like, actually, I was. Like, I did all these sports and was, on like field day in elementary school. Like, I won the sprint a bunch of times and I won the long jump a bunch of times. And I'm in 4th and 5th grade. So
but
none of it matters. But
you're the best of the worst.
Exactly. So, and I always liked it. Like, I really liked baseball and never really played football. Like, I was athletic, but I wasn't like a physical guy.
Well, what got you into sports over because gaming consoles were really big back then. There was still the whole the whole reading side of things, the TV side of things. Like, what got you into doing that? Because you could have been one of those kids who just went home and watched TV or doodled in a book or read a book.
I think this is one of the best parenting decisions that my folks made is that they limited our screen time. It was literally like, you have an hour of screen time a day. I don't care if it's on the computer, or on the TV, or on a Game Boy, or on N64, or whatever. You just had an hour of screen time, and they kept track of it. And, if you ran out of screen time, go read a book. Go play outside.
We didn't get that until the weekend, but all the chores had to be done before you could play. And then if you were playing on Dad's TV and you wanted to watch TV, you had to get off Dad's TV.
Yeah. So it was good. It was pretty good childhood. I have a younger brother, younger sister. They're solid. Yeah.
So you're the one who got the reins pulled real tight on him.
Oh, exactly. It's hilarious, man. The stuff that my sister got away with and how much earlier she was able to have like freedoms.
I love that.
No, it was good though.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, a lot of time like.
Were you a troublemaker when you were a kid?
Not when I was like a young kid. I started getting into trouble a little bit in middle school and a little bit in high school.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like drinking as a freshman.
No shit. Yeah, no.
Sneaking out and like, oh yeah, I'll be sleeping at this person's house.
Oh my
then
God,
my
you
friend
ballsy
would be like,
motherfucker.
I'll be sleeping at Charles's house. Then we go to a party or something. But I never got in any real trouble.
Yeah.
Like, I got good grades.
That's so funny.
Yeah. It was pretty normal.
What was it? I was a freshman in college. I had allegedly had my first beer when I was a freshman in college. It was like right at the end of the semester. And I went to go hang out with a buddy of mine right when the weather turned. It was like the Easter break or something like that. And they were drinking. I'm not going to disclose the location, but they were drinking in like a pretty private location. Me and a buddy of mine went, and my buddy was drinking, and I was like still so fucking scared.
Yeah.
Even though I'd already had some drinks, like I didn't touch anything. I was like, well, even if the cops come here, I'm guilty by association, but it's not so bad if I don't have any alcohol in my breath. Like that was my logic.
It's funny. Well, the same baseball coach that I had in high school, he was, like, it was like, I don't care. Like, you all have a target on your back. He said these words like, all your teachers know you're on the baseball team. They're keeping an extra close eye on you. Act the right way in class. Act the right way in the community. Did you guys have
a really good baseball team?
Yeah.
Is that why?
Well, it was good because of the coach. Like, it was shit. Then and there were some good players, but he kind of turned it into more like the major league model where the, mod teams in middle school and the JV team were training grounds to make it to varsity. Whereas before there, so he would have control over the JV coach. He would have control over the modified coach. And before that, everyone did their own thing. It was more relaxed. He was just like, we're going to do it this way and this way. And they won, I think they won sectionals for like the first time in ages my sophomore year. Then we won it again my junior and senior year. And then they won it a bunch more times in the next 5 years.
Oh, wow. So they got really good really fast.
Yeah. But in high school, if you have a coach that teaches fundamentals, makes kids work hard, and runs a tight ship, you're gonna have a team full of like, I don't know, savages, people that want to win.
Yeah, and that's what it is too. Once you get that taste to win, it just comes so much faster.
Yeah.
So like our cross country teams and our track teams were really good. Like really good. Like they just kept getting top. Like it was just one of those, like once you got traction, you keep building up speed and doing shit like that. Oh, you're so cute, getting in trouble and stuff with a little cutie.
It wasn't really that bad. I mean, I got put in cuffs once, but I never got arrested.
Put in cuffs? Tell me.
I'll tell you the abridged version of the story. Someone was picking on my brother So we decided to meet and fight, of course. So we met behind a local elementary school, and he showed up with like 8 guys.
Wow.
And I came with a friend of mine, and I was like, "Oh, sweet, we're gonna get the shit kicked out of us." But they didn't do anything. They just videotaped it.
Oh, Jesus.
And then before, we stood there and like smack talked for a little bit, and then
you suck, son.
stuff like that. And then I think eventually I was like, "Are we gonna do this or not?" And started yelling at him, and he pulled a bat out of his sleeve.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so I was like, "All right."
Was it one of those like little baseball bats?
It was like yay big. I mean, it was
one of those, like-
it was like a billy club.
Oh,
So I was
in
like-
a police club.
Yeah, maybe a little longer than that. It was a small bat.
That's so
I was
funny.
like, all right. So I went to the trunk of my car and I had a busted axe handle in the back of the car, and I took it out. I was like, let's run it.
Oh my god!
And he and his friends were like, dude, put the bat away.
That's
Put the
so
bat
white
away.
people right there.
So then he put it away, and I put mine away, and then like we fought, and it was all fine. And but then the cops came while we were fighting.
Oh no shit!
Yeah. So then like everyone was like, Skater! And I remember sprinting across the lawn and like climbing over this tall fence and then hiding in bushes in a neighborhood. And of course, I don't even know if they drove by at all, but every car that drove by, I'm like, that's the cops, man. They're out looking for me. And of course, everyone ran one way.
Yeah.
And I ran by myself the other way. I was like, I don't want to be a part of a big group, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, crouched in this bush, assessing the situation I'm in.
You should have been with the group, right?
Well, I'm like, my car's parked in the parking lot at the school. I'm going to have to go back eventually.
Go on.
So I go back over the fence.
I mean, they put a slip on your windshield. They're like, come see the cops.
I go back over the fence, and I'm like, army crawling across the lawn, like, so they can't see me. And it's like a couple hundred yards away.
Yeah.
So I see someone standing by the car.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, Malin, because it was like it was my friend's last name. So I was yelling for him, and then this body that hundreds of yards away is like, yeah, come here.
Oh no!
So I'm like, okay. So I stood up, walked over there, got close enough to be like, all right, well, that dude's still there, but that's not my friend. But my car's there. Like, I need to, this step of the process needs to happen. So I get there, and it's like the old night watchman at this school.
Oh no!
And he's like, hey, the cops are around the corner. I just called him and told him to come back here. So if you could just hang out by your car, that'd be like really great.
It's
and I was
so
like,
funny.
I was like, yeah, all right. So then the cops came
Were
back.
you like bloody and stuff still?
I didn't even get punched. I think he punched me like in the tit once. Yeah.
Oh shit!
I think I sprained my thumb like on his face though. Yeah, I didn't. I was untouched.
So funny.
Yeah.
Could you just hang out here, man?
Yeah.
Just be a good sport.
So I did. So I waited for the cops to come back, and they came back and they were like, "Tell me what happened." So I told them like the story of what happened, and I'm sure in their heads it's like, "Wow, just a bunch of stupid kids."
He had an axe handle.
Yeah. So
where's the axe handle?
Well, it was in the trunk.
Yeah.
So he like put me in cuffs and then like glanced through my car, and then I heard like a sound of a plastic bottle like rolling across the ground, except it wasn't a plastic bottle. It was the bat. It was the bat that this kid pulled out. It was a fake bat.
What?
He was thinking that him pulling a bat out would get him out of the fight.
Oh shit.
But then, so when I went and got that axe handle, his buddies were like, all right, Dollars Donuts, that's not a fake axe handle. So literally,
oh no,
literally nothing happened.
Oh no.
The cops, took the cuffs off and were like, hey, you really shouldn't be doing this on school property. Get the fuck out of here. So
yeah, that's too good, dude.
then I went to a party at my then girlfriend's house.
That's so fucked up.
It was fun.
I had the police called on me a lot.
Really?
Allegedly.
What for?
I never got arrested though. Let's see. We used to have parties at the house all the time from the time that like I was 16 up. we used to have tons of parties at the house, and the police lived in the neighborhood, and we used to have them come all the time and be like, can you guys stop playing in the streets? You guys need to turn it down. You guys need to be less rowdy.
No, just like,
everybody here 21 and older. Like, just like
Wait,
over
how
the
old were
years.
you?
Like, this was over the years. This was over like 8 years. It's like the 21 and older thing, that was like when we were adults. But like when we were kids, like we got called for a hate crime. We were having a fun noodle war that spanned the neighborhood. It was
You're just
yeah, but we got the cops called on the
yeah,
spot.
kids
And then
running wild.
I used to get the cops called on me allegedly for climbing on schools. Allegedly. Just all the fucking time, dude. They hit a point where like we knew the police officers that would be showing up to the house a couple times that night, and we knew which neighbors were going to call the police that night. And then like when we did we ran a lot from authority. Like we got okay, so this is one of my favorite stories ever. We didn't do anything wrong. That's how I'm going to preface this. We did nothing wrong.
Of course.
There was a gang of about 11 of us. We walked from the high school to the town park. And it was peak hours for kids and shit like that. And I told every single one of them, I go, this is not our park right now. I go, if a little kid is near you, get away. Let them have the drawbridge. Let them have the tower. Let them have everything. Go to the other side of the park. There's not very many of them. We can easily do our own thing and have fun. Like just... We were adults. We were like fucking 16, 17-year-old kids or whatever it was. And I was like, just, so the parents are at ease. Like, so that way they know that some teenagers aren't going to fuck their kids up, like their little 5-year-olds. I was like, if they come near you, just casually leave that section of the park.
Yeah.
So everybody knew everybody was fine.
Step away from the kids.
The town authority people, one of the parents must have called the town and said that we were vandalizing. So then these 350-plus pound dudes came from the town. They're like, you kids need to sit right there. We heard you were vandalizing stuff and blah, 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 blah. So these big 300-plus pound dudes are climbing on the toys and shit like that. And they get to like the drawbridge and they're both jumping up and down on it, trying to break some shit. Like, you guys weigh more than all of us put together.
You
and
should
at
have just
no
ran.
point in time.
There's no way those guys are chasing you now.
It gets better. So we saw a police officer like lap through the parking lot and leave. And then seconds later, we saw 2 police cars lap around and leave. And then we saw 2 officers got out, started walking, and a police car started to drive on the lawn. And one of the guys there, he had Tourette's and a couple other issues, and he was like, oh man, I can't get arrested, my mom's gonna kill me. Like, we're sitting there and we're all just like, don't say anything, we didn't do anything wrong, they can't prove that we did anything wrong.
We're
Like,
just existing in a park.
and I told one of my best friends, I was like, shut up and let me talk, just let me talk, like I've got this, because he's got a big mouth, And the police come over, and I start talking to the police officers, and I recognize one of them, and we're talking. And then he starts chiming in. But like, so the kid with the issues, he's like, "Oh man, I can't get arrested!" Ah! He books it through the backfield of the park, and I was like, "Fuck, man!" I was like, "That looks real suspicious right now."
Just booked it.
As all 240 pounds of this young kid is just like moseying through the back of the park, trying to get out of there. I guess the police found him on the other side, and they recognized who he was, so they let him go. But like, I'm like getting us out of this shit. We're almost done. I was like, no, I told everybody, yada, 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 doing my thing. And then he starts chiming in. I was like, motherfucker, you smell like weed. Stop talking. Don't talk to the police officers. You smell like an illegal substance. We ended up being there for like another another hour or so. And then they're like, all right, the town, you guys didn't break anything. You just need to leave the park. I was like, okay. So we went to the library right next door.
Yeah.
And we hung out at the library on the lawn.
Well, it's so dumb. Like, you got it. It's all just good. It's all just good, clean fun.
Yeah.
Like, you're not vandalizing anything.
Good, clean family fun there, Cotton.
Yeah, exactly. You got jammed up for just existing in a park.
Because I even talked to a couple of the adults, too. I was like, just let us know if we're in your way, we'll move.
Yeah.
And they were cool with it. And then this one broad just wasn't having it. Wasn't fucking having it. That was also the parking lot I almost got arrested in for learning how to drive when I was 13.
That's so dumb.
He goes, that's so dumb.
It's so dumb. Here's the set, like, where do you learn to drive when you're 13? In a parking lot. That's like the first time you always... Actually, the first time I ever steered a car was on an island in Maine called Chesapeake Island.
Chesapeake.
And we were there on vacation, and I sat on family friend's lap, and he was like, Charles, you can drive the car.
Charles, is that what he sounded like?
Yeah, he's a Long Island guy. He's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Did you travel a lot? Have you been a lot of places?
Kind of. I mean, I was lucky. My grandparents liked to go on vacation, so when I was younger, I think when I was like 10, they took our whole family to London and Paris.
Oh shit, that's cool.
I barely remember it.
Aw, damn.
Then 3 years later, my uncle got married in Poland, and so they took us there.
That's exciting.
Again. Then where else did I go? I went to some conferences. I went to college for environmental science and got my master's from RIT. So I went to a couple conferences for that to present.
Why did I think you were an engineer?
Probably because I seem more like an engineer. I almost went for engineering.
Yeah.
But I went to Florida and then traveled for baseball and been out to the West Coast.
I'm gonna change this then.
times.
I'm gonna change this then.
What's that? Does it say engineer?
It says local engineer.
Dude, if you want,
That's what I thought you did.
if you want to make that more accurate, I would say former scientist,
Former side.
former scientist, current general contractor.
Oh God, that's so funny.
Professionally, I think my career is hilarious because I went to school for environmental science and did my master's on nutrient pollution in a coastal estuary, and it was very super narrow, super niche. I did, it was on an interaction between. Well, really, this is going to be very boring.
No, this is my favorite part right now. I thought you were an engineer. I was about to sit through engineering talk, and I found I'm sitting through science
you
talk.
got science talk.
Yeah,
okay.
Science stuff.
So there's a process called eutrophication. Eutrophication is what happens when too many nutrients make it into a body of water.
Okay.
Usually it's nitrates from fertilizer and phosphates that used to come from detergents. And it's plant food, right? So that goes into the water, and algae grow like gangbusters. It's called a bloom. So there's this massive algal bloom. Now, during the day, algae photosynthesize and produce oxygen and everything, but
Smells good, son.
that doesn't happen at night. So at night, the oxygen levels usually go down, and because there's all this algae and the oxygen levels tank, things start to die. So as things start to die, because there's no oxygen in the water anymore, it goes anoxic.
No shit.
So you have this, and that happens for two reasons. When there's this bloom in algae, a lot of things eat algae.
Yeah.
And most of the things that eat algae are respire aerobically. They take oxygen in and breathe out carbon dioxide. So
you're referring to what, fish and stuff like that?
yeah, you're usually microorganisms, invertebrates, not usually fish. Usually microorganisms, invertebrates. So during the day, everything's okay because there's kind of a balance between the algae that's photosynthesizing and producing oxygen and all these critters that are eating the algae and consuming oxygen. So there's a balance. But at night, the critters keep going. They keep eating.
Yeah, they keep eating and producing carbon dioxide.
And consuming oxygen. But the algae stop photosynthesizing, so they stop replenishing it. So oxygen levels go down to literally zero. It goes anoxic.
Holy shit.
And then you wake up in the morning and everything's dead.
No shit.
Everything is dead. That process is called eutrophication. So when I started doing research it was the summer after my freshman year, I learned about bioturbation and how the presence of I guess let's step back. In order to remove nitrogen from the environment, just like there's a water cycle, how it rains and evaporates and everything. Well, there's a nitrogen cycle. And
cool.
And in order for nitrogen to get get out of the water, it has to change from dissolved nitrogen to nitrogen gas. That happens from a process called denitrification.
Okay.
And there's a specific set of conditions for denitrification to happen. The most important is a high oxygen environment right next to a very low or anoxic environment.
Okay.
And that happened. You ever dig in the sand and the top layer is light colored, and then you dig and you dig.
It becomes wet and dark colored.
And it becomes dark colored and it smells like sulfur.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where at the top of the sediment, you have oxygen in the water and then no oxygen under the sand.
No shit.
So that's what you need for denitrification, and that's how you get nitrogen out of the system. Now, I was looking at whether or not the lab was looking at this. I was helping. Whether or not the presence of certain macroinvertebrates like clams, snails, worms can increase the rate of nitrogen transfer out of the water. And some of it was chemical, but a lot of it was just mechanical and physical.
Okay.
So if you have, for instance, the sound matting that you have, it's effective because it's high surface area, right? That's why it's ribbed like that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, and because it's ribbed, it has higher surface area. Now, if it was just flat, the surface area would be lower, right?
Yep.
So if you have snails bulldozing around and creating little ripples in the sand,
Okay.
surface area increases. Now, denitrification is really limited by that interface between the sediment and the water. So it's surface area.
Okay.
If you can increase that surface area, then you can increase denitrification.
So taking a rake and
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
Interesting.
So you make it rippled, surface area goes up, that total area of interface between high oxygen and low oxygen also goes up. Nitrogen goes out of the system, and maybe that nutrient pollution is buffered by these macroinvertebrates that are there.
oh shit.
So that was kind of the premise for the research. What I looked at was we found in one of the first years that the snail, Ilianassa obsoleta, the eastern mud snail, was always found around algae. So we were like, all right, why? Why is it found around algae? Because it could be a number of things. And I did an experiment for each one of these things. Is it because of food? Do they eat the algae? Is it because, do they hide in it from predators? Do they lay eggs? So snails lay eggs.
Yeah.
They need something to lay their eggs on. Substrate is limited in the sandy intertidal zone because you can't lay eggs on sand. You need something hard.
Yeah, firm.
So they lay their eggs on the algae. So maybe that's why. And then I looked into a lot of other stuff. So like, does the presence of the snails make the algae grow more? So I did an experiment where I fertilized algae with a nitrogen-rich fertilizer, phosphate-rich fertilizer. I had a control group, and then I just fertilized it with snail pee. And the snail pee was like worked way better.
How'd you do that? You have to milk them all. You took little snails there, and you're just playing with their little dong, trying to get them to wee on you. There's a little more.
Well, actually, snails secrete. They have like 12 nipples each. They don't actually.
That's amazing. You could have got me there, dude. I would have believed.
I couldn't keep it going for long enough.
Yes.
So no, I just put a bunch of snails in a cup because it was tough to measure. So I put a bunch of snails in a cup, let them just be in the cup. Like exist in the cup for like 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then I would take the snails out and be like, all right, this probably has snail pee in it now. So that's what I did my master's on, and
That's
then
cool.
finished the thesis, got published. Like if you Google Yarrington Ilianassa obsoleta, you can find my published journal article, which was cool.
That's so cool.
And then I worked in environmental consulting for 4 or 5 years, which is the job I wanted coming out of college. And
What is an environmental consultant?
we did a lot of site investigations, like phase 1, phase 2. So phase 1 is basically a book report about a property, usually that's been requested because someone wants to buy or sell the property. So like someone wants to buy it and they want to cover their ass. Like, well, is it on top of an Indian burial ground? Like, is it horribly polluted and it's going to be the next Love Canal in 15 years? So that's phase 1. Then if we do a phase 1, it's like, yeah, it's pretty bad.
We found Indian bodies.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
We do a phase 2, which is usually involves actually collecting samples and trying to figure out where it came from. And a lot of things tend to stop at phase 2 because you can explain your way out of a lot of shit. But sometimes it's bad enough that you need to actually like clean up the site.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. I've talked to people about it before. They're like, oh, that sounds cool. I'm like, yeah, it does sound cool. But I found it really boring. I didn't think it was that challenging. Like everyone was the same. You always did the same things on every site. It was really repetitive. It just wasn't engaging. So I decided.
Sucks. I'm sorry about that.
Well, it ended up working out really nicely. So I lived in Baltimore for like 8 months, then got transferred to Syracuse, lived there for 3 years. Same company.
Oh, no shit. I didn't know that.
Then moved back to Rochester with a different company, worked there for a little over a year. Same position though from the first company. I was like, man, I'm done. I'm not doing this job again. But I ran projects and got quotes and did budgets and schedules. I was like, I don't know, maybe construction.
Yeah.
So now I work for a general contracting company called DGA Builders as a construction project manager, and it is awesome.
Yeah.
It is such a fun job. The size and complexity of these projects we're working on is huge. It is challenging. It's engaging. Like it demands my attention, which but I went from doing environmental science to literally like paving paradise, putting up parking lots.
That's funny.
It's fun though, man. It's the best job I've ever had. And
That's cool.
Without like being too hail corporate about it. Like DJ is a solid company. I like all my coworkers. It's good, man.
That's cool,
Definitely
dude.
the best
I'm
job
happy you
I've
found
ever
something you enjoy doing.
Yeah, it's fun.
Seems like it's hard to do that in this day and age because there's just so much going on and everybody wants certain things and doesn't want certain things, and it could be as bad as one person ruining the job for you.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have gotten a good education. I took out student loans, like I paid for my own shit. But,
yeah, I haven't yet.
Still, I did that, and because of that and my experiences, I was able to just be like, you know what, I quit. I'm gonna completely blow up my career at I think I was like 26. But
so if you could go back and re-go through college, what would you have gone for now?
maybe because this, construction, is what I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Probably would have gone for either mechanical engineering, but really probably not. Probably would have gone for civil engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why civil engineering?
Because you are designing stuff out in the real world. Mm-hmm. The size of the projects is larger. Like in mechanical, you might spend, I don't know. I'm not a mechanical engineer, so what I'm about to say is probably wrong, but this is my understanding of it. Like you might spend a long time making a spring, like a coil spring.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the most badass coil spring ever. And it's going to go in a real product and it's going to perform well, but it's one spring and one product and you just spend a month working on it.
Yeah.
The speed isn't there for me. The complexity, I'm sure there's a lot that goes into designing something like that, but building a 4-story building, there's a lot that goes into that. Structurally, if I went for structural engineering, then I probably would have been a structural engineer, which that's not really my thing. It's just a lot of office time, a lot of design time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the weird thing with like engineering is everybody has this certain idea about it, and it seems like so. Tim is an engineer. Tim Kramer, he's the big rugby player at the gym. I always talk to him. If I
does he have
him,
does he have kind of like light colored hair? Does he walk around? Does he walk around while he's wearing his belt a lot?
No, it's not Tim.
Shucks.
Tim's like 6'5".
The guy I'm thinking of is tall. Anyway.
He's a Viking. But yeah, he's an engineer. He works for a private firm, and he spends most of his day arguing with architects.
Yeah, that's
what he does. That's pretty much his whole day. He's arguing with architects. And I think another buddy of mine...
Is he a structural engineer?
I think he's a structural engineer.
If
he works a lot with like internal parts of buildings, remodels and stuff like that.
If he's arguing with architects, he's a structural engineer.
And then another buddy of mine, he's an electrical engineer. And he spends a lot of his day trying to, follow the laws, the electrical laws. It's Ohm's law, not Ohm's guidance.
Yeah.
Ohm's law is a fucking crazy law, dude. It's just, there's so much that goes into engineering too, like versus design. Design and engineer, you'd feel like they're so comparable, but they are just so different.
I mean, that line is kind of, it's a lot of semantics, like, an engineer designed shit, but and they are, they're tied to each other. Like, for instance, at one of the jobs I'm working on right now, the new build on University Ave, the interior designer came in and decided she wanted to move walls and like do all this stuff. And it's like, okay, this is an interior designer. And before I dealt with her, I'm like, interior designers decide where to put the pillows. Well, first of all, it's way more than that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's way more than that. But these decisions she made, which ultimately she's in charge of the experience of the person inside the building, like what they touch and feel.
Yeah.
So her input is important. She was hired for a reason because you don't want a structural engineer in charge of that shit.
No, they're just going to do it the most logical way.
Yeah. But so she does these things, and presumably they're good decisions for the job, but they have ramifications on the structural side. You move walls, you got to.
Especially if it's a load-bearing wall, you got to figure out a way to take that load.
Yeah, and even if it's not a load-bearing wall, if you move a wall, then all your utilities have to move also.
Yeah.
Like mechanical, electrical, HVAC, and this stuff is so tightly coordinated. Like you have to make sure that you're not, an HVAC duct and a plumbing pipe are not going to cross each other.
Yeah.
And then you have the steel grid also. It's a lot of coordination that goes into it. But it's cool. Like that's the stuff I like about it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I would not have thought that at all. So do you work with a lot of fresh buildings, or do you work with a lot of already developed buildings doing alterations and stuff?
Personally, most of my experience to date has been with new builds. We're renovating the Alliance building downtown on East Main Street.
Okay.
It used to be, I think it's a 15-story building. It used to be the tallest building in Rochester, like a long, long time ago. But that's a renovation. We've got several other renovation jobs in pre-construction right now, but the job that I'm running is the new build on Penfield Road down near Panorama Plaza.
Yeah, I know where that one is.
Yeah. So a lot of new builds personally, but the company we don't even just do residential. We do a lot of stuff at the hospital. We do stuff for towns and mostly towns, but we do hospital work, institutional work. We do some education stuff. Like we've done some smaller jobs.
So do you have more
for
fun
IT.
doing new stuff or renovations?
Frankly, I haven't been exposed to renovations that much yet.
Okay.
I'm in it a little bit, but it's almost like hitting the fast forward button on a job, because when you do a renovation job, structurally, that's already done. And seeing the earth moving and the utilities go in place and the concrete work and the steel work, it takes a lot of time, but it's cool for me to see. In a renovation, you skip all that.
Yeah, you get to the last 20%.
You go right to demo. You go right to demo, tearing all the interior walls out.
Yeah.
And then it's skipping all the stuff and going right to metal stud framing and drywall. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. You got lucky getting in there too.
I think so. That's good company. And interestingly, this company, DGA Builders, my dad used to be an architect.
No shit.
He works at RIT now. But DGA Builders built the addition onto the home that I grew up in that my dad designed while I was living in it. Like there's two guys that one of them's already retired from DGA and another one will probably retire, I don't know, soonish. But they were like foremen on the site. Like I met them when I was 6 years old.
That's so cool, man. That's
Yeah.
a real moment of serendipity right there.
Well, and the CEO of the company, I swam in his pool when I was around the same age. And I think when I went in to, have lunch with him when we were trying to get to know each other and all that, he was like, I haven't seen you since you were this tall.
God damn.
Damn, I kind of feel like you have the upper hand right now.
You got the dirt on me, man.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's like super, super small world right there.
Yeah, and it feels good to work at a place like that where it's kind of in my, little ties to it from the past too. It's more sentimental than anything, but like it's nice. It gives me like a warm fuzzy
That
feeling.
warm feeling in the morning, except when it's cold out.
Yeah, exactly.
So other than like the weightlifting part and enjoying your job, like what do you do? Like what is your free time like?
Well, lifting takes up a lot of it. Playing baseball in college, I played baseball for a couple years after college too, just in like 18 and up leagues, and then decided I didn't want to do it anymore. But was like, all right, Charles, you can stop playing baseball,
Hands.
but if you stop competing in baseball, you can't stop competing.
Yeah, that's
you
the big problem a lot of people have.
You have to keep doing something. So I was like, okay, well, I already lift. I'll compete in powerlifting, which is why I started doing that.
So wait, when did you stop doing the baseball stuff? That would have been what, 2016, 2015? 14. So about a year. Yeah, you would have literally been lifting at that time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing is competing in golf. I really want to do some actual tournaments this year. I'm about a 3 to a 4 handicap, and I like golf. I like practicing. I like trying to get better. And then on top of that,
So for those who don't understand, what is a handicap in golf?
a handicap in golf is basically say the par of every course you play is a 70.
Okay. That means it's 70 putts or 70
shots.
Shots to get
70
to the
shots to
overall.
over 18 holes. If you're supposed to do it in 70 shots. You're supposed to make it through 18 holes with 70 shots. A handicap is basically just how far away you are from that. So the way it's calculated, it's 20 rounds. Say over 20 rounds, your 10 best rounds of the 20 are averaging a score of 80.
Okay.
That would mean that your handicap is a 10 because your 10 best rounds out of your most recent 20 are on average 10 strokes more than par for the course.
Interesting.
You are a 10 handicap.
Huh.
So if you're really, really good, like really good, and say your 10 best rounds out of your most recent 20 are 5 strokes better than par.
So like a negative 5.
Average is 65. That person would be like, well, that guy's a +5 handicap.
Oh, okay. Sorry, the other way.
Yeah, which is really, that's really good.
That's a pretty interesting way to do it.
So I'm a 3 handicap, which means I average in the mid to upper 70s. Because again, the handicap skews. Like my true average over the most recent 20 rounds might be closer to 5 strokes over par. But they pick the way it's done is they pick your best 10 out of the most recent 20.
Well, that's what I found really interesting was when we went golfing for my bachelor party. Like, I don't know how long you've been golfing, but before that moment in time, but like, as someone who is into the gym often, I notice that I have real restriction in movement. You don't have any of that, and maybe you work on it, but like it just seemed so fluid for you. It was just.
I think that. So when you get stronger and stronger and stronger, you will get less mobile. It doesn't mean that you're going to become stiff as a board, but like usually an 800-pound deadlifter is not going to be as mobile like between their hips and their shoulders as would a 400-pound deadlifter because you need more muscle packed around your shit to pick that up.
Protect them organs.
Now, the way I thought of it is I've been doing some swing changes lately over the past like year or so. My swing was a little long, so I want to shorten it a little bit. So I was like, all right, as I get stronger and stronger, will I lose range of motion on the big picture? Yes, I will. But if the range of motion that I lose lies outside of the range of motion required to make an effective golf swing, I don't care. I'm not even going to notice it.
Huh, interesting. Because I remember you telling me at one point, you swing like a baseball player.
Yeah.
I still got to fix that. That's one of the things I'm going to do this year.
Let's go to the range.
That's what
Let's
I'm saying.
Go to the range sometime.
We're trying to do that this year on Wednesdays is go do something outside the gym.
Yeah?
So work out, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then go do something. Go to the Red Barn, go to the trampoline zone, go to Laser Challenge, go to the driving range, go play Frolf or something. But like
I'm down.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fun. That's pretty much what I do when the weather's nice.
Yeah, because you were telling me you were trying to get one in this week. Did you get one in?
Yeah, I've played as long as I get a march in and a round in March, which I will.
No doubt.
That will have been 3 years where I've played at least once a month, either in Rochester or Syracuse.
Yeah.
Like through the winter, it's fun. But yeah, usually I'll lift Monday, Tuesday, then Wednesday, Thursday. I'll golf one of the days, and then maybe I'll do conditioning one of the other days, and maybe I'll golf that day too.
Yeah.
Then I'll train Friday, Saturday, then maybe do something golf related Saturday afternoon, and then golf Sunday.
Well, because I also remember you telling me like something when you were watching me swing. You were saying something about me not going through a full swing, just doing like a half swing, and I still can't register how that would give me more power.
Going through a full
swing? You
were
were saying don't do the full swing. You were saying do like go to like halfway.
Oh, you were probably just going. You're probably doing what I used to do and still do sometimes, just going farther back than you need to. I'm trying to think of the best way to say this.
Golf is hard. That's the best way to say it.
Golf is hard. Golf is hard. But it's almost like think of it like it's not exactly the same. Like this is not fair. But think of it like squatting. Like if you were to squat completely ass to grass all the way down and bounce off your and do it what with compromising your position and you get out of position, it's going to be harder for you to stand up and harder for it to be repeatable. It's the same thing with golf in kind of.
Well, golf is 100% technique.
Well, if you go...
You can't out-muscle a shitty technique in golf.
Right. But if you... During your backswing, you go to your backswing and then you keep going and you keep going, and you're going farther and farther and farther out of position. Mm-hmm. It's going to get less repeatable and less repeatable. You're going to have more and more compensating moves from your shitty position up here to get to a shitty position at impact.
What got you into golf then?
I started playing my freshman year of college.
Why? Just cause something to do?
Buddies played.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just liked it.
Were you dog shit back then?
Yeah.
I love the honesty. Most people hesitate to be like, no, it wasn't that bad.
No, I was pretty fucking bad. And I'm still not that awesome.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's hard, dude. I played all throughout middle school, all throughout the end of elementary school, and all throughout high school. And like, because I wasn't naturally good, the teacher didn't help me get better. So I just golfed like shit for years, just terribly for years. And then obviously when you saw us golf, I hadn't golfed in like a decade. And it was just like, oh yeah, there's that shitty form right there. I'm really good at mini golf.
Dude, we should go to the range. I'll sort you right out.
Because I'm just going to go pick up a set of clubs off Craigslist. Just something simple, something easy, just something to fall into and start just going with it. Because it's just, for me, I don't understand the difference. I don't understand the depth. I just need clubs.
I have a set of clubs that I will give you.
For how much? I'll give you 150 bones for it. There you go.
No, I'll give them to you for free.
Oh, jeez.
Because they don't have grips on them.
Oh.
You're going to need to take them and get them gripped, which is usually like $10 a club. So you're going to have to pay $90 to $100.
Why'd you lose the grips on them? How'd you ruin the grips?
I didn't ruin the grips. You have to get, if you play frequently, you need to get your grips changed like once a year, once every other year.
Why is that? That seems like an odd thing that wouldn't really...
They wear out. They get less tacky. They get slippery.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So when I bought a new set of clubs, I had just gotten my old set of clubs re-gripped. I was like, well, what the fuck? I just got my old set of clubs re-gripped. Put them on my new set.
Oh, no, that's awesome. Yeah. That's so funny.
So, but yeah, man, you could have those clubs. I'm literally doing nothing with them. And they're a good beginner set, too.
Good shit. I appreciate it.
They might be a skosh long.
I'm easily adaptable because I don't understand most of the phonetics anyway. Like the fundamentals for it. Like that was I know. Fuck you. Don't say shit. Don't say shit because I fixed myself.
All right, let's move forward.
That's how that happens all the time, dude. I just blow by it. I don't give a shit. Like,
do you see was I just like?
I saw you queue up too. You're about to just rip into me about that shit. I do that way too much. Way fucking too much.
I've probably already done that on this podcast.
But like Tim, I have a buddy who does that. He says the wrong word every time we're together for something, and he'll say it so confidently that he thinks that I think that he's saying it right, but I fucking know he's saying it wrong because I know what word he's going for. And then I'll sit there and he'll be talking through and he'll say the word and I'm like, you cunt. And then seconds later, I'll be like, oh, so you mean like, and I'll use the word and I'll just blow through it and just stare him in the eyes as I say it. So I was like, bitch, you know that I know you're fucking wrong.
I've got this one friend, Mike, and I think it's good to call people, because if you never call people out for saying the wrong word, like I'm saying, you should call this dude out. If you never call people out for using the wrong word, they just use the wrong word forever.
Yeah.
Until somebody calls them out.
What's word? That or when people say a word fucking wrong? Like people who say especially piss me off.
It's like if you had spinach in your teeth. It's the same. If you had spinach in your teeth and I don't tell you that it's there, I'm the asshole.
That's the grammar version of spinach in your teeth.
It is.
That's too good because that's so true.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's so fucking ridiculous. Yeah. The wife and I were literally just talking about how shitty the English language is with like words that are spelled one way but literally pronounced two different ways and have two completely different definitions.
The dove.
Dove. Like that's a big one. Fucking deer. Well, no, that's DEER and DEAR.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I'm saying they're spelled identically.
Those are homonyms.
But then there's the ones that are spelled and then they're completely pronounced two different ways. Mm-hmm. And you're like, and then there are two different words and you're like, what? What do you mean?
I've heard learning to speak English, is really hard because there's dove, but there's also deer, ant. Where,
there, weather.
Yeah.
Like those, that's even more weird, but I don't like it. It pisses me off.
Well, I'll tell you what I do like about it. I'm like way better at speaking English than I am like any other language. So I'm going to stick with it.
That's what always got me too. Was like, why did they wait so long to introduce a second language to us when we were kids? Like in other countries, they start learning another one in elementary school, like, and then they get a second one in middle school, and then a possible third one in high school. So by the time they graduate, they know 4 languages, and you're like, I barely can get myself through remedial Spanish.
So I told you that my uncle got married in Poland.
Yeah.
He got married to a Polish woman who was who was also a doctor. Yeah, go figure.
Go figure.
But they have 2 kids, and both their kids started learning Polish and English like from the cradle. Mm-hmm. So they're fluent in both those languages and also are learning like Spanish and Mandarin. But it's because my uncle and Aunt Lucy are both very smart people, and they like freakishly want their kids to be really smart too.
How about being my buddy, my friend Mike, him and his brother?
Wait, am I not your buddy?
Another buddy of mine.
Okay.
That's like when people say my one friend, you're like, oh, you have one friend?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
But I went to his house so much in high school, and his parents speak the worst English. The fucking worst.
What was their native tongue?
I want to say Viet. It was either Viet or a specific dialect of Cantonese. I think it was Cantonese, a specific dialect of Cantonese. But his parents barely spoke any functional English, and then they would only talk to them in Chinese and in Cantonese, and they would respond in English because they didn't speak it.
Oh my God.
I was like, wait, how does that work? So they understand what you're saying, and then they still talk to you in the tongue, and then you respond to them in English, but you understand what they're saying in their tongue. So why don't you just say it in their tongue, or they say it in your tongue?
Force a habit? I don't know.
But so my buddy Mike, he came up to see me in college with a couple of them, and I tried to get him busted with my RA. Like we were playing beer pong with water, and I told my RA, I was like, hey man, come and fuck with these kids. Come and get them. Like just get them real quick. And he's like, yeah man, I'll get them. And he comes in, he's like, what you guys doing? And he's like busting in. He's like making a big scene about it and like making a big deal, trying to like say he's gonna get them all in trouble and shit. And he's like, no, I'm just fucking with you guys. If you guys aren't playing with alcohol and bad, I'm gonna be like, yeah, we have water. He got so fucking furious. But
now I'm mad.
So my roommate in college was Cantonese. Well, he was Chinese, but he spoke Cantonese. And I was like, oh yeah, Mike speaks Cantonese. And then Andy and him start chatting a little bit. And Andy goes to the bathroom. He goes, that motherfucker's poor as shit. He didn't say motherfucker. He said another word. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, oh, the dialect of Cantonese. He was born in like a super impoverished part of China. He goes, he's below me. And I was like, yo!
He's speaking poor Chinese. Poor person.
Because that's what Chinese. It is with Cantonese. Cantonese is mostly spoken in like those different villages, and like one neighboring village can sound totally different than another neighboring village. Like they can put it together roughly what they're saying, but the way he said it too when he left, he was just like, yo, that motherfucker's poor as shit. And
how close would the villages have to be?
Well, so Andy grew up in Mike's family was from a village that was closer to one of the big cities. Andy grew up in one of the big cities that only spoke Cantonese. So he spoke like he wasn't in, I don't think he was in Beijing. I don't think he was in China. Beijing, China. He was in another one. I fucking remember. I can't remember anymore. Too much shit's going in, dude. Just
yeah.
You gotta like poop it out real fast. But this the fact that like they're in America, they're both doing America stuff, doing further education. He's just like, that dude's from poor shit. Yeah. He's a poor motherfucker. You're just like,
it's like, wow, how about a little camaraderie, man?
What a savage. You guys are both in America. Like, just be thankful.
This is the land of opportunity, you son of a bitch.
That poor kid, he got shipped back to China. His parents took him back to China because he wasn't making it here. So he finally gets to move back here soon. Because like he was working in a movie theater, he went to college with me, and then he went to UB, and he had a bunch of shit go down. But like his parents were like, fuck you, come home. Do shit. So he like had to go home. So I talked to him all the time. He's like, dude, I miss America so much.
I've never been to China or Japan. I feel like it'd be crazy to go.
My friend Mike says
have you ever been?
No. So he's gone everywhere. Like he went to Amsterdam for a month for work. But like I have a problem with large crowds. Like I get really anxious. He goes, dude, if you have a problem with large crowds, he goes, you don't want to go anywhere in China. He goes, they're bumping into you, they're smashing into you, nobody's saying shit, nobody's saying sorry, everybody doesn't give a fuck about you.
I think the thing that you'd have going for you in China is you're like not small.
Long John von Hugendong?
That's not what I was gonna say. But you know, like if you're just like a huge white guy, I feel like people would be taking pictures of you.
Okay, so when I proposed to my wife at the Maid of the Mist, it was like 90. Well, I did it because of The Office. The Office is her favorite show.
Okay.
So that's how Pam and Jim got
Yeah,
married.
I know.
Fuck you.
I've watched The Office through like three or four times.
Keep going. Keep going. Way more times.
Those are rookie numbers.
Way more times, bro. I did that just going to sleep. But so like we're there, and it's like 99.9% people from other countries coming to see, one of the seven wonders of the world. And I'm super nice. Like on airplanes, like when I was 250, 245-ish, I would like sit in my seat like this. I would scrunch my shoulders. And my only thought was they didn't do this to themselves. I did this to myself. So it's my responsibility not to make their life uncomfortable.
Just be considerate.
Yeah, so I squinch myself in for the whole flight. But like we're in line for the Maid of the Mist. Everybody's bumping into each other, and they're like doing that shit, trying to get me out of the way and moving along. And I'm trying to stay with my crew. And I'm like this, like all crunched up. And I was like,
fuck this.
I was like, fuck this. I just like opened up real quick. I was like, oh. And so I'm like walking through, and I go from having like 1.5 feet of space to like 4 feet on each side, like just total, just like so much clearance. I was like, oh, it's so much better to not give a shit.
Sometimes in places like that, like tourist trap type places, you just gotta be a dick.
You just gotta walk wide.
Yeah, you just gotta wide stance it.
It's like I don't understand. My buddy Jared gets around. He's 330.
Oh my god.
My buddy Steve, he's 318. My buddy Jordan, he's 254 at 5'7". Like they're huge people. When they come up here, they have to buy 2 seats each. Like they're big people. And like Steve's different. Steve's such a sweetie, but like he'll never be able to fit in any car I've ever owned. Yeah. He's just a big guy. But like being in public with them, like you're just like, I'm part of the big guys. I'm just the big crew.
No, it's just like now I'm tiny.
Yeah. It's just put into perspective real fast. But yeah, I always feel like I didn't. But then like there's fat fucks on the plane. I'm sorry, fatties. There's just like they're on the plane and they're like, and they're like over my seat, and I'm like, yo, bro, seriously, there is no armrest anymore. Yeah, my seatbelt got swallowed in.
You have assimilated the armrest.
I need you to compromise with me, and we'll have a good flight. Like, and I hate flying to begin with, dude. I'm not a good flyer.
I don't love it, but
I want to be in control.
I do it. Like, I went to New York City a couple weeks ago, and I considered driving, but I was like, what the fuck?
It's like 6 hours, dude.
Well, it's 6 hours, and then you got to park down there, and you usually have to pay for parking. You're paying for gas. And
$10 to get on the island, $10 to get off.
Well, and then, like, if I want to park in Manhattan, I was unable to see. I was doing, like, online research. I'm like, I don't think I can park overnight in Manhattan.
There's parking garages.
For free. Right.
Not for free, no.
Yeah, but they're like $40 a night.
Yeah.
So, and a plane ticket round trip is like $130. So that's a no-brainer.
But you're going to pretty much spend that much anyway between gas and tolls and time.
I would have spent that in gas.
Oh, and leaving your car somewhere, yeah.
Tolls, and then I would have gone way over because of then another $150 to park. Well, I was only there for 2 nights. So it's basically like $40-$50 a night.
Yeah, so you're still looking at $80-$90 just to park.
Yeah. Forget it.
Plus, $20-$40 of gas, $50
It was
even.
cheaper to fly and 5 hours faster.
Yeah. That's so crazy. Like, it's amazing to me how cheap sometimes flights just get. Like,
oh my god. Well, and then I was thinking about going to Arizona to see a buddy, and I still might, but when I'm like getting picky about the time I want to leave and the time I want to come back, to actually go at the times I want to and not take a red eye back, it's like dope. A flight to Arizona is $800.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I don't really want to.
I keep telling the wife, she keeps moving up in her company. I was like, man, one day they're going to ask you to, you're going to have to move. I was like, you better tell them West Coast only. And she laughs at me, and I was like, hey, the west side of the mountains, Oregon, Washington, mid-California, something like that.
You're gonna pay
there's
way
a lot,
more.
Like, that's what everybody says, though, but there's a lot of places out there, like, that aren't in or near the big cities that are, like, good big towns, like Rochester type towns around there that aren't the big city, and they're not part of the hustle and bustle life, but they're still on the good side.
Like what?
I can't remember. I know, like, outside of Seattle, there's, like, 18 miles south or something like that. There's a nice community out there, and it's not a stupid expensive community.
Well, I wish I memorized the population of every city in America. Unfortunately, I have not. I'm sorry. But like in the like Rochester is not a big city, but it's not that small.
No, it's
like
decent size-wise, too.
Well, especially the greater Rochester area is 1 million people.
Yeah.
The city is only like 240,000.
Wow, that's odd. 40,000. Small.
Well, I mean, how many people? It's literally how many people live in the city.
In the city limits. Yeah, I guess that makes
sense.
Yeah,
and then you expand it to like the 5-county area, or no, then you expand, not the 5-county area. If you just expand it to the greater Rochester area, like.
So you're going like from Hilton to Webster and then down to like Rush, Mendon,
Yeah.
Chili, Scottsville.
Yeah. Then you're up to 1 million people, and I don't know what's the population of like a Sacramento?
See, California's a weird animal though. California's I don't think California counts. California's just too many fucking people. That's like New York City. Today, New York City population of Sacramento. If my phone works in the basement, there's no signal.
I left my phone upstairs.
Nah, it's okay. I could just pull it up on here. Population Sacramento. I am from Sacramento.
I want to guess. Don't tell me.
Yeah, you guessed, babe.
Sacramento.
God,
I'm gonna say 1.5 million people.
495,000.
See, there's not as many. So Sacramento, you think, oh, Sacramento's a big city. Well, it's like twice as big as Rochester.
That's huge. Wow.
But then, like this community that you're thinking of south of Seattle,
Yeah.
I doubt it's even close to the size of Rochester.
Well, there's a lot of those too, and everybody's like, "Oh, you want to be on the east side?" And it's like, no, because they still get snow. I want to be on the west side. Yeah, it gets 40 degrees out there, but if I'm gonna move to someplace like that, I don't need to be in Seattle. That's like the equivalent of living in New York and living in the city. Like you don't do that.
I don't know where else I would want to live.
I would love to be on the west side of the mountains, anywhere over there. Because even like in the inner California towards those mountains, it's still cheaper and it's not like stupid cold or anything. That's what gets me up here. Is like when it snows, I don't mind, but when it gets windy as shit, that's what I mind. I hate that. Oh God, kill me. Because I humored Arizona, but I know most of Arizona is super expensive to live in.
It is.
Then living in like on that coast, the west coast side of the mountains, like it's just I don't want to deal with snow unless I decide I want to deal with snow. Even if it gets to like 30, 20 degrees, I don't care. I
don't even do any wintertime activities outside. Like I don't snowboard.
We have snowboards. We haven't gone snowboarding in 4 years.
That's why I hurt my knee snowboarding.
I loved it, dude. It was so much fun. I was so terrible at it.
I was awful. I only did like the falling leaf, like hillside. That was awful.
Yo, I was that bad too.
So
I didn't
bad.
care. It was just so fun to get out there.
It was fun.
It was so nerve-wracking too.
I think if I tried it again, I'd probably try skiing.
I did skiing for so many years. I just felt like snowboarding was such a more manly sport.
Yeah, snowboarding is more bro-y. It's like super bro.
Whoa.
It is.
Whoa. Get them half pipes, son.
Did you see that run in the Olympics?
I've shared it, dude. That was fucking insane.
I don't think we're talking about the same one.
Oh, I guess we're not. Go on.
I'm talking about the one that it was this American female that
You talking the one where she face planted her knee?
No, she found some loophole that because one of her parents was Hungarian, she was able to make the Hungarian, like she was an alternate for the Hungarian team, and actually made it.
No shit.
So her run on the half pipe, she just didn't do any tricks. At the Olympics, she went down one side, went up the other side, went back down. At the Olympics, the whole way down. It was fantastic.
That's so rude. That's so rude.
But part of it's like, it is and it isn't, because she made the Olympics.
I know.
Her number got called.
That's so crazy.
But she was just like, this is the fucking best I could do.
Yo, I wonder, so like I'm assuming for each event, it's not every single country in the world participate. I'm assuming it's a certain number of countries participate,
You have
right?
to qualify, I think.
Yeah, but it's not like every country. It's not like, oh, there's, I don't know how many countries there are, like 400-ish.
Well, I think it's because if your country is so bad at a sport that they can't like qualify for like meet the minimum, then they're not gonna make it.
I was watching the women's curling finals. I love curling.
Have you ever been curling?
No, but it just looks exciting. What?
I've been curling, dude. There's
shit.
There's a curling place out near the airport called like the Rochester Curling Center.
God, it just
It's
looks
super
so
fun. No, it is so much fun.
Oh, it's like shuffleboard on roids.
That would be a good thing to go do as an activity.
Yeah.
Get like
fuck yeah.
8 people is the best amount of people to go with. Go like 8 people. It's a fucking blast. You can drink too.
That's so cool. That's like going to Hot Shots. You play some volleyball. That's what we got to do. We got to go to Hot Shots. I'm like a secret level like ninja volleyball player.
Really? I probably suck.
I'm really good at serving. I'm shit at everything else. But like I'm like a deep down, like I'm a black belt, like a secret black belt.
Secret volleyball black belt?
Yeah, I always tell everybody the story. I was at a party and we were playing through and I had a couple brews and we're just playing and we barely won the first 2 games and like all of a sudden, all my booze just like caught up with me. I was like, "Fuck, I don't want to play anymore." They're like,
"Fuck, I'm drunk."
they're like, "Oh, come on, we got one more game. Like, we just need one more person. We just need one more person." I was like, "Oh, come on, please, no." And they're like, "Yeah, come on." I was like, "Shit, okay." So like, I'm 2 people away from serving for the team. So like, the ball goes back and forth, does its whole thing. I end up getting around. It's like, I think it's 1-2, and then I went nonstop, won the game. Just serve, point serve, and I was just done. I was like, and here's win, and I just like served it and walked off, and it just went down. I was like, I'm done.
Wow.
Like, I was such a I just didn't want to play anymore.
I do not think I'm that good at serving in volleyball. Tell you what, I would love to play badminton again.
Badminton's fun.
I used to skip class in high school to go play badminton in the gym during the badminton unit. Totally worth it, man.
Badminton was fun. So did you ever play, what's the one with the really small ball and everybody faces the same wall?
Racquetball?
Is that racquetball?
Racquetball is my shit.
Racquetball's intense.
It is so much fun.
It's so intense.
It's so much fun.
It's intense.
Dude, I'll whoop your ass in racquetball.
I haven't played racquetball since I got accidentally racquetballed in the ass, with the racket in the ass.
Oh, kinky.
Like, it was bad. Like, I had the marks and everything for like a week and change. It hurt so much.
I love, every time I talk about racquetball, I'm like, man, I got to play racquetball more 'cause it's so much fun.
Racquetball is an interesting one. It's because that ball, what is it? It's like, it doesn't really bounce.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
Wait,
really.
are you talking about squash?
Is it it might be squash.
Racquetballs are pretty it's a rubber ball that's kind of soft and it is definitely bouncy.
Which one's squash then? Squash is the one with the softer ball that you gotta smash into.
I don't know.
I think it's squash. It's probably squash. I've played racquetball before, but I think it's squash. Because that ball like really wants to fall to the ground. It's like a more aggressive racquetball. Because the racquetball will like fly everywhere. Mm-hmm. The squash ball won't. You have to like get to the ball and then whack the shit out of it and force it to move.
Yeah, maybe that's squash. I don't really know.
Either way, it's amazing how many different games. Like, I wonder why they don't play badminton in the Olympics.
They have Olympic badminton.
Really? That's amazing.
It's sick.
But yeah, so I was watching the women's curling, and they're like, they might use a timeout here. They've taken a lot of time between these sets. They might be able to break this. And I'm just listening. I'm like, oh my God, please do it. It wasn't even America. I was just like, oh my God, you guys better
take
get
the
it.
timeout.
Yeah. You see her like sprinting back. She's like, no timeout. And she like gets there, and then you see her like take off, and you're like,
spike the ball. Wrong sport.
But it's so interesting because the point scheme for that isn't really like, it's accumulative.
It's like darts.
Well, no, because you can wipe somebody else's points out by
you're right.
moving
Yeah.
their.
No, it's literally like shuffleboard.
And I was like, that's so fucking dirty.
It's sweet. It's like it's kind of like cornhole.
Is cornhole the one where you toss the sandbag?
Yeah, sandbag.
I just started playing cornhole. Cornhole's fun.
It is fun.
You're
late to that party,
dude. I wasn't a bro in college.
Uh-oh. I think I kind of was, but only because I was on the baseball. If I wasn't on the baseball team, I would have just been like a fucking science nerd. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play cornhole till last year.
Yeah, you missed out, man.
I didn't know what it was. That was like I've never played Can Jam.
Can Jam. So I'm not a big disc guy.
I love frisbee.
Oh my God, dude.
That's why I want to go play frisbee golf. I feel like I'd be good at frisbee golf.
There's one right near my house.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them around here.
Ellison Park.
Yeah, everybody keeps talking about this. But that's one of the things we're going to do on a Wednesday is go play some frolf.
I've been wanting to do that since I moved into this house like a year ago.
And the nice thing is frolf is free.
I know, it is free. Sweet. And it's literally right down the road.
No shit. Yeah, we'll have to call you for that one too. Because I got to get some discs. I know where to get them too. So
yeah,
I just don't know what the difference is. There's like a heavier one and a lighter one.
Fuck that. I'm buying one. I'm using it the whole time.
I'm just going to buy a frisbee.
Yeah. Just bring a frisbee. No, seriously.
Just buy a 255 gram frisbee or 305 and play with that.
It doesn't matter. Like, I'm not a pro. I'm not going to know the difference.
Like, all the packs I find on Amazon, they're like $20 to $30 and they've got like 5 different discs. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, look at this, my clubs.
Yeah. You carry them around a little. You
got the little, the little,
or whatever.
Yes, I'm going to get a fanny pack, son.
Do it.
I'm going to do it.
That's another thing. Like, people.
I saw Ron with his. I was like, dude, where the fuck did you get that?
People started wearing fanny packs, ironically, like.
It just became a thing again.
Like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. And then it became a thing again, man. But if you go out and buy your first fanny pack now, you fucking poser.
I don't give a shit,
That's
dog.
what it is. That's what people will be
I already
like.
tell everybody, I got nothing.
I
got no one to impress anymore, dude. I'm married.
Yeah.
I was thinking about getting one for like my chalk for the gym.
No, you should get one for casual wear and one for formal wear.
The casual wear is like mono black.
I wonder if they make one that looks like a cummerbund so you can wear it with a tuxedo. Like the zipper's hidden under a fold.
I bet you they have that too.
They definitely do. It's too good an idea.
I had an idea was to buy like old suitcases and like travel apparel from like those big name companies. Like, what are those companies the girls love? Louis Vuitton, those companies.
Oh, yeah.
Buying like the leather
like
apparel.
Dooney and Burke.
Whatever it
the
is.
ones are.
But just like buying those and then buying the leather strips, like people, the base leather for belts, like weightlifting belts, and then stitching those on there and selling those.
Make like fancy weightlifting belts?
Yeah. Because I bet you people would buy them. And since they're technically, what the hell would that be? Thrift? You don't need a trademark for it or anything like that.
Is that a true statement?
I believe so. Allegedly. I don't know anything about the law. I'm trying to file for a patent. I don't know shit about the law.
Are you actually trying to file for a patent?
I got to get a provisional patent for my invention so I can start trying to sell it. So
Is
nobody can flake my
it
shit.
too secret to talk about?
I'm not going to talk about it on here.
All right.
Someone else is gonna steal it,
Tell me
bro.
after because I'm curious.
I just started building prototypes for it, but as soon as I can get the provisional patent, my friend who's a lawyer, he's like, as soon as you get the provisional patent, he goes, start your website, start your Kickstarter, do all that shit, and then he goes, and then you can
Well,
start.
dude, now I don't even want to do this anymore. I want to see. I want to see your prototype.
My prototypes are shit right now because I was
Yeah,
just,
that's why I want to see it. I want to see them before they're good.
yeah, because I've already got I have to build a couple that are
they
good
behind-
for my.
are they behind
No,
that
they're
curtain?
not. They're actually upstairs being utilized. But like, I got to go to my sister-in-law's place and get some measurements and use them.
Is it a vibrator?
Yeah. No, this is like a reverse vibrator. How does that even work?
Wait, that just means it's just a dildo. It just doesn't vibrate.
No, wouldn't that be a insert?
A reverse vibrator, it absorbs vibrations.
It's it's a vibranium dildo. Oh, that's crazy.
That's my That's mine.
my patent.
That's not yours. That's mine.
We got legal rights to that trademark
Yeah.
here. That's like you get it so it's solar powered. That's the next step with dildo, solar powered. That's what we had a conversation about last time on here. It's about like,
Wait, solar powered dildos?
Solar powered
I'll tell
dildos.
you what, the people that buy a solar powered
oh,
dildo
they got a problem.
are not shy people. Oh, sorry, my dildo's out of batteries, but I still haven't gotten off. Maybe you go lay out in the front yard.
It's sitting on your dashboard in your car. Well, we were talking about that last time on the podcast. Is I was like, man, if there's ever anything in this world that you want to accelerate, you make sure it functions with the porn industry. I was like, you ever wonder why TVs got so good, cameras got so good, mic equipment got so good so fast? I was like, it's the porn industry, man.
I'll tell you what, though. Sometimes the mics are too good.
You're talking about like the squishing and stuff.
Some of that stuff.
You can hear their hair growing.
Yeah, like some of that stuff I don't want to hear. And then like
Like what?
I feel like no, this is just the HD thing. Remember the first time I ever watched Late Night with Conan O'Brien?
Okay.
In HD.
Okay.
I was like, oh my God, that's what I see so much more. His face looks like an old shoe compared to it before. Like, and it's the same thing in porn. So you're like, damn, I didn't need to see that fold.
The first time I watched HD something, it was Charmed, and I learned that Rose McGowan has a mustache. And it was a very predominant mustache.
And it was a beautiful mustache.
It's a very blonde mustache too, but I was like, man, if I can see that shit here, everyone in real life can see that. Like, there was a girl I used to work with who had one. Behind her back, we used to call her Mustache.
Mustache?
We used to call her Mustache.
That's cruel. I thought you were nice.
She had a hardcore mustache. Like, she was a pretty girl. She just had a mustache.
These things are fucking my ears up.
Yeah, they fuck mine up all the time
Yeah.
too. But you probably got ear aids, so.
Yeah, well, now it went through the cord. The ear aids went through the cord.
It's a filter.
No, it's not.
It's got penicillin in there.
I took that out when you went to piss.
You just cycled it out real quick. You just pulled that shit out. That's so fucked up. No, I'm very judgy, and it's not my fault that I'm very judgy. It's because I judge myself too much. That's why I'm so judgy.
That's your fault.
I know.
Yeah, it
I
is.
can't control it. My body's just like, hey, fucker. Like, talking shit about myself all the time.
It's your fault.
That fart wasn't as good as it could have been, bud.
That's saying like you're the master of your own death. This is a big thing. No, this is a big thing for me. I think that everyone is the master of their own destiny.
Yeah.
Everyone, if they don't like the way their life is, and I'm sure this isn't like people that are in like the depths of
Only in
despair.
America.
You can change your life. Like if you're unhappy in your life or in your career, like it's on. No one's gonna make it better for you.
Yeah.
It's on you to make it better.
That's why I always tell everybody, I'm like, I'd rather work a job that I like and make just enough money than work a job that gives me tons of money and I'm miserable.
Yeah. And also, I feel like there's this like range of making money where if you make X dollars plus or minus 20 grand in that $40,000 swing, your quality of life is not going to change that much.
No, not much.
And in order to get to the point where your quality of life is actually going to noticeably change, it's so much more money. Like to not be middle class is anywhere from like 50 grand a year up to like 240, 250 grand a year.
That's huge.
Like that's
a big
all considered
swing.
middle class. It's crazy.
It's a huge. So I'll be the first. This is the first time I'm going to say this. Is like I'm leaving my job. I submitted my resignation yesterday, and I'm going to work at construction robotics
Yeah.
with CJ. CJ got me a job in there because like I said, it's the first time I'm saying this. Is I'm leaving because of my boss.
What were you doing?
I was working for a
Like a
online
distributor?
auto auction.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was doing that. I was going dealer to dealer, listing cars and stuff like that. And now I'm going to go work for a company building robots.
That's cool.
gonna be
What's your
awesome as
position
shit.
over there?
I'm going to be starting as a fucking construction engineer or something like that, or construction assembly engineer or some shit. But
okay.
it's a really small firm, and he was telling me, and the lady I was talking to, there's tons of room to grow and develop as the company's moving on and stuff like that. So, learn what you can here, move it on. Learn what you can here, move it on. Like, just get better and better and better doing these things as they get more things engineered and built and developed and stuff like that. So,
Where is it?
right over by Victor, right? The last exit before the 90, you cut off there, and then you make a quick right, and it's right there by the post office.
Huh. Once you're my office is in between Bushnell's Basin and the mall. When you make moves over there, we should grab lunch, man.
Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, my last potential date for employment right now is the 6th.
Cool.
So, and that was just one of those, like, and I talked to her. I was like, if I get let go, I was like, can I start sooner? She's like, yeah, just call me. Which is nice. And I feel shitty. Like, I always tell my wife, I'm like, I'm so sorry I was complaining about my goddamn jobs. I've complained about work since we met. Like, constantly complained about work.
Yeah. I don't know. This is the best move I ever made professionally was completely change careers and do something that I didn't go to school for at all. And it's been the best. It's been the best. And for years, when someone asked me how my job was, I'm like, oh, well, it's a good job. It's a good job.
Because I know how that is.
Yeah. And it it paid me fine and it wasn't like hard labor or anything like that, but I fucking hated it. It was so boring.
Yeah. Well, that's the end of the day goal for me is to get the patent, start developing the product, sending out the product. And then if I can make like $30,000 a year building this product, sending it out, whether I'm doing it by hand or I'm figuring out a way to, get somebody else to do it for me, I'm happy. I don't need money.
All
I
right.
have lived my whole life poor, and I always tell everybody I was poorish. I was poor. I don't give a fuck. I don't need money to be happy. And then in my free time, I can do the things that I want to do, like finish developing my board game, start kickstarting them, start putting those out, start doing the art that I need to do for. Like, I have so much shit going on, dude. If I had like the stability and the time, yeah, in a heartbeat. If I always watch Shark Tank, it's like if I have to take a fucking royalty deal, shit, yeah, I'm taking a royalty deal.
Sure.
I don't need to. I'm not heart bent on this. I'll have another idea. This is just the idea, the first idea.
Yeah.
Everybody's always got that. They're like, here's my Shark Tank idea. I'm like, bro, what are you doing about it? Well, nothing. This is one thing that I do. I do this. I'm not expecting to make money out of this, but if I happen to make money out of this at some point in time, that's fine. I don't care. It's not the priority. If you spend all your life I have a friend who chases money. That's what he does. He chases money. And I don't know if he's happy. And I can't tell you if he's happy. And I will never ask him if he's happy, but all of his time is spent chasing money.
That doesn't sound very fun to me. I think if you can find something that you do that you like and that makes you happy and it pays you a lot of money, obviously that's ideal.
That's the dream, yeah.
And I mean, if I give you okay, so you can do all these things you're talking about doing and you have the choice between either making 30 grand a year or 130 grand a year. Obviously, you'd be like, well, give me yeah. I'm not an idiot.
But you can't go into it being like, I expect to make this much. This
Exactly.
is what I deserve.
It's not-
This is what I earn. It's how much effort did you put in? What's the time? Like, I already figure for the invention, I'm going to spend most of the time doing it myself. Getting the ability to build everything, getting the ability to put it all together, ship it, market it, everything like that. Which, hell, at that point, the only person I can be mad at is myself. I'd be bitching at myself because I'd be the boss.
Well, ultimately, if you have something that you believe in and you give it your best shot and you give it all of your effort and you fail, it gets said all the time, but like, you did your fucking best.
Yeah.
You did your best and it failed.
There's that other school of thought that, like, a guy that I know, he said, if you dedicate the next year to doing like this, he goes, you will become profitable. He goes, and that goes the same thing with everything else in your life. He goes, but you need to dedicate 100% of your being to it.
Same thing. I mean, the 10,000 hours thing.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that
It's
up.
the same, it's the same thing. And I think that there's truth to it.
Have you tried to figure out how many hours you spent at the gym to see how close you are to that 10,000?
No, it'd be depressing because I'm probably way above it. And it's like, I still fucking suck.
I was going to say, I'm probably at like 6,000 or 7,000.
Yeah, I'd have to figure it out.
Even at like, 90 minutes a day, 5 days a week is what? That's 5, 6, 7.5 hours times, let's say 50 weeks.
I think that'd be heavy. I think you'd want to do 4 times a week, 4 hours a week. 4 times 52 is 208 in a year.
That's depressing.
Yeah. 208 hours in a year.
Oh my God. That's even less now. Times what? 7, 8, 9, 10 years? It's called 10 years?
If it's
2,000
10 years,
hours. Jesus
2,000
Christ.
hours.
Damn, what am I doing with my life?
That's the amount of time.
See, I've got a way to go to be Louis Simmons. That's what it is.
Yeah. If that's who you want. Well,
no, I'm just kidding though. But I'm just using it as a reference.
Actually, he might be a good goal because at this rate, by the time you've accumulated 10,000 hours of training, you might be as old as Louis Simmons.
God damn! I can't believe it's that little, man. Jabez, that's crazy.
Yeah, like if I think about golf, like the amount of time practicing, this is generous too. Say I practice once a week, not counting playing. Say I practice once a week, and I've been playing since 2007.
Yeah.
Say it's been 10 years.
Once a year for 3 hours, yeah.
That's like 500 or 600 hours.
God damn.
That's it.
That's super saddening, man. Like thinking about how much time you spent doing something, practicing and making it better.
Well, and also like fitting 1 hour of practice time in a week can be a lot when you have multiple hobbies.
Yeah.
Now, just to go from 600 hours to 6,000 hours, I need to go from 1 hour a week to 10 hours a week. How the fuck am I going to practice?
That's 4 to 5 hours Saturday and Sunday each week.
Yeah.
It's a second job.
And you can't even practice for 4 to 5 hours.
No,
it'd be too tiring. Yeah.
Well, that's like with most of the board games that I've done. I have a book of 14 games, 14 or 18, one of those. But the only thing left to do is prototype them, play test them, and then finish designing them, like the looks and stuff. But they're done. They've been done. It's just now I need the time to do the long, grueling part, which is building the prototype.
Yeah.
And that's not the fun part for me. The fun part for me is the brain part, the engaging part, the trying to figure out a problem and a solution part.
Designing it.
And fixing an issue and figuring... Like, I tell everybody this story, like, where I had a real big... I have a finance game that I've been working on, and I couldn't figure out the way to make the stock market work. Because it was a buying and selling stock market game, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. I spent weeks crunching numbers, doing... Like, I formed algorithms to try and figure it out. Like, I was like, I don't get this. I don't get why it doesn't work. There's no reason why this should be more... chance-based than strategy-based. And that was the problem, is I want games that are strategy-based and not chance-based. Chance-based to me is just bullshit. It's like, okay, go with God, do your fucking thing. Like, I want to be the leader of my own destiny in a game. And it's one of those, it took me forever. And then I was like, shit, I just put it away. And then like a month and change later, I woke up after like sleep and I was like, holy shit, I fucking figured it out. And like ran over and I'm scribing it all down, trying to remember it all and putting everything I possibly can in the book. And then I come back to it like 2 or 3 days later. I was like, who the hell was that? I was like, I don't remember doing that at all. Like, who are you? That was crazy. That was a ton of information that I can't process right now, but it makes sense.
That's cool. Yeah, I always thought it was the same thing when I was doing my master's. My favorite part of the work was experimental design. Once I designed the experiment, it was all pretty menial stuff, like cutting material for cages and putting it out in the field, or, like scraping algae off the backs of snails, tying slip knots in fish line and gluing the other end to a snail. Hours.
Oh, it's so funny. Yeah. It's so true though.
Yeah.
But then there's like so there's that. There's the intelligent part of things where it's the designing the protocols, designing the systems, figuring out how shit works and figuring out the solutions to the problems. That's one big side to I call it the dreamer side. And then there's the other side where it's you say shit that you will, or the person who's saying it will never do. I have a buddy, he talked so much shit the one day, and I was like, man, I love him. I was like, he's a dreamer. I was like, he ain't never gonna do it, but he's a motherfucking dreamer. I was like, you gotta have guys like this in this world here. And he was just like, what's that supposed to mean? And I was like, you're never gonna do it. I was like, you've been talking about it for like 3 years. You had the opportunity. You've never done it. I was like, I like you like that. Like, that's a good you, man. Like, you keep dreaming. Like, he got so mad.
Yeah, I think that's kind of sad. Like,
that's most people, though.
No, I understand
Which is the big reason why I was like, with this invention. I'm going through with it. I'm dedicating the effort and the time and the magic thing and this thing. But it's so easy to just, when it starts to get hard, backing off. You could have easily backed off with your master's. You could have been like, I don't really want to do that. Maybe I'll do something else. Maybe I'll figure something else out. Like,
well, it's the fear of failure. Mm-hmm. Like, once you commit to doing something and just come to terms with it's the same thing with like approaching women. Like, why is it scary? It's scary because you might fail.
Yeah.
Once you get over the fact that, like, yeah, I'm going to fail sometimes, and sometimes I'm not going to, then it gets less scary. And it's the same thing with trying new things.
But the shit thing is calling it failure. It's not failure. It's just learning a different way to do something, learning another opportunity.
No, it's failure, but it doesn't mean. But it doesn't mean you can't.
Glass half empty. Glass half full.
It doesn't mean you can't learn from the failure.
Yeah.
Like a failure. This is the issue. A failure is not intrinsically a bad thing. Like, if you tried and failed, yeah, you failed. It's not like, oh, well, everyone's a winner. No, you failed. But it doesn't mean that it was a bad thing that you failed, as long as you learn from it.
So did you know that they have just found evidence that emotional damage versus physical damage, so failure versus physical failure, emotional failure bogs you down for significantly longer time than a physical failure does.
Of course it does.
And I was like, that's super odd. And I was listening to it more and more, trying to figure it out. And I kind of understand it, but I don't agree with it. Because, like, you break your fucking arm, you're out for 8, 9, 10 months. You go ask somebody out, they say no. It's not 8, 9, 10 months. The only reason I could think it'd be worse is because you're living with yourself all day, every day, 24/7, being like, why didn't they say yes? Is it this? Is it that? Am I having this issue? Am I having that issue? Why this? Can I change that?
I think I don't think that comparison you made might. I haven't seen the study, but when I think about it, my mind goes to terrible places, right? So it's like, okay, if you break your arm, it's going to be better in 6 months, and then you'll be fine. And it'll be like, oh, my arm isn't broken anymore. But if you like watch your dad kill your dog when you're a kid or something like that, that's going to be some shit to get over. Like, that's true emotional trauma and failure that happens at a time in your life when you're very impressionable. Mm-hmm. So I can see how, like, shit, I broke my wrist 3 times when I was a kid. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. But there are, I'm trying to think
Well, what's the difference between the emotional trauma with doing that? Because you're going to get emotional trauma from that versus something else. Something that you might have brought on yourself.
You understand that.
Okay, there you go. That's probably exactly what it is.
You understand that, and you understand that it'll get better.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like when people are depressed.
Or they get over a real bad breakup.
Well,
never gonna get better.
Well, and if you look at them and tell them, like, look, it's going to be, like, you can't tell someone that's depressed, hey, could you just stop being depressed?
CTFO, son.
They're like, well, that's not, if I could stop being depressed, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I think.
I guess that's the same thing like with me with crowds. You can't just tell me to get over my anxiety with crowds.
Exactly. It's easier, and it's also easier to control. Like, okay, if I tell you don't punch a hole in that wall, okay, you're not going to punch a hole in that wall. But if I tell you don't think about elephants.
Yeah, now I'm thinking about elephants, you dick.
Yeah, it's easier to control your actions than it is your thoughts.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's relevant. Oh my God, that's like the sinning thing with Catholicism. You think it, you've done it. Shit. We're all filthy sinners. How dare we? That was always the worst part with me. Is you're a horrible, horrible sinner. And I'm like, what do you mean? What did I do? Tell me what I did.
Good old Catholic guilt.
Yeah,
what did I do? You were born.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster?
Yeah, it's like a fake religion that someone...
It's not a fake religion.
That
it is
someone
a
made
recognized
up to
religion.
Parody organized religion.
Aren't most religions parody? Or fake organized? Or organized now and they're from someone else's thoughts?
Well, there's a difference. I think there's a difference between starting a religion because it's something you truly believe in and starting a religion out of irony.
So what's the more important thing about the religion? Is it the higher being or the morals? Because the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster is all about morals.
I think that's a loaded question because
no, it's not. I'm asking you an honest question.
Well, no, because it's loaded with the assumption that religion is important, and I don't really think it is. So
take the importance out.
I think that important. I think that the value that I personally can see in religion, and like I respect people that are religious.
Yeah.
My dad's religious. My grandparents are religious. And I like don't think any less of anyone for that.
Yeah.
I think it's really the community aspect of religion, like everyone congregating on a weekly basis. People are kind to each other at church and care about each other and ask how people are doing. Well, if you're not if you don't like have a hobby like lifting where you see people all the time and you have a community there, or like your buddies you play golf with, or like people that you went to school with that you're still friends with, if the only community that you have is like your church community, that's super valuable because humans are social creatures.
Yeah.
And if you take that away, then it probably wouldn't be super healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that too. So you're talking for like the social convention. It's important.
That is what I see.
No. This is all about you. That's what
today.
today's about. Today's about Charlotte.
But I'm saying that
is.
other people, the most important thing about religion is that to them might be that Jesus Christ died for our sins and was reincarnated 3 days later.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. That's all I care about.
Okay.
I believe in him and he's watching over me, and that's comforting to me, and I believe it. It's just like you're never going to argue with someone about their religion because you can't debate their faith because it's their faith.
Yeah. But apparently you can debate, theoretical physics.
You can,
even though most of it's based on ideas that aren't proven.
Well, exactly. It's theoretical. Just because something isn't proven, and it also depends. Like, if someone that is very like a religious zealot believes in something because they believe in it, they don't need proof.
Yeah,
they don't need proof. They believe in it. And you're not going to be like, well, why do you believe in it? I don't need to tell you why. I just believe in it.
You don't need to, but you can, and I'd like to know why. I want to get into your brain. I want to fish around.
Yeah, but they might not have a reason.
And that's what hurts me is.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because it's not like it's not yours, it's theirs.
Yeah, but it's okay for people to do irrational things and be crazy and out of control and stuff like that. And you're just like, oh, they're crazy, they're out of control, they're irrational. But like when you ask somebody something that structures their whole life and that's the reason for who they are, and they won't tell you why that is, tell me why. What is it? What does it do for you? How does it make you you? The religion conversation always favors me because most people will steer real clear of it, but because it's a huge confrontation for most people. Me, I put my head down, I just go in, I'm like, let's go, let's open the doors, because I was really religious for a long time. And then I kind of fell out, and then I went right back in, and I got really hard into it, and then I was like, yeah, I don't believe any of this, like at all. And I tell everybody this, like the only thing that can explain matter can't be created or destroyed, excluding quantum fluctuation, right?
I don't know.
Those laws of matter. The laws of matter cannot be created or destroyed.
I don't know the last word
changed.
you used there.
Quantum fluctuation. It's like with photons.
Quantum fluctuation.
It's like with photons. They didn't exist until you flick the light switch on. Yeah. So quantum fluctuation would be the only way to explain matter coming all into the universe at one time, right? That's the only way, because matter can't be created or destroyed. It can only be changed. So that matter had to have come from somewhere. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I believe in. I believe something made the matter.
Okay.
Done. But like the whole the stories, the arc, I get the morals behind it, I get the information, but the picking and choosing about what you believe in and how you believe in it and what you do and then which person you shit on and which person you don't shit on. Like, I got a problem with the blacks, I got a problem with the gays. If you're not part of my group, I don't like you. Fuck you. Like there's just all this picking and choosing going on. Like a lot of religious people that I know, like, you got tattoos, bro. You're not supposed to have those. That's a sin. It's a pretty big sin.
I think there's a difference between like organized religion and strict like it's all religion, like organized religion, strict interpretation, or like somebody that is like, yeah, I'm Christian, I believe in Christian values, but I don't believe that Jesus Christ died on a cross and was reincarnated.
Yeah.
I just believe in the Christian values.
But they won't say that in front of somebody who believes that Jesus Christ died on the cross, because they'll know they're going to start confrontation, and one of those people is going to get into with the other person like, well, you need to, otherwise you're not. And like that's the big thing. That's the big line.
But then, coming full circle, it's like, well, if all of a sudden a conversation about two people discussing what they believe in it and why they may or may not believe in something gets confrontational and like antagonistic, it can't be productive anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's two people it's faith and belief. It doesn't have to be grounded in reason or logic.
Yeah. Well, that's what I tell everybody. Like the easiest way to lose a conversation is attack what somebody else is saying.
Yeah.
The best way to win an argument or a debate is to defend and bring up your side of the thing, because you're not going to win at that moment. Technically, you're not going to quote win, but like when you're done with the conversation, you're going to walk away and you're going to think about what that person said. They didn't say anything negative about what you believe, what you said, what you did, depending on whatever the topic is. But what you did is you brought tons of really good information, really good opinions, and really good views on whatever the subject was. And that person's going to mull them over and be like, holy shit.
And I think that's the difference between someone that is why can you debate theoretical physics, but you can't debate religion?
Yeah.
Well, I think that a theoretical physicist understands that the idea that they came up with and that they believe in because they think it makes sense, they understand that, like, well, they came up with it. It just came out of their brain. So if someone else wants to come in and say, okay, but have you thought about this? And then they present their opinion based on logic, I think you're going to have a more open-minded person.
Well, yeah, because you're going to have information that's already existed that is being used to try and figure out other shit.
Yeah.
So you might be like, well, try this formula, try that answer, try that. Which, yeah.
Like the theoretical physics is not necessarily institutional knowledge. Like they understand that it like evolves and changes, and as you get more information, as we learn more, you're allowed to change your opinion. But
yeah, as data brings itself.
In religion, it is institutional, and it's a doctrine. There are sacred texts that don't change, and I think it's more rigid. And of course, like they're rigid, and they're like subsects of like, oh well, no, that's just the Bible's metaphorical.
It's a metaphor. And then you have people who say, well, this part isn't though, so you're allowed to tell me certain parts are, but certain parts aren't.
And it's all just people's opinions and points of views and belief. Again, it's not for me, but if someone else does it and gets like a tremendous amount of value about it, and they think that their life is better because of it, who am I to stop you from
I agree with that.
doing something that makes you happy?
One of the most important
even if
things,
I don't understand it, I don't have to, because it's not my thing, it's your thing.
Yeah. So do you rationalize most things that you agree with or things you understand?
I think most people do.
Yeah.
I think even someone that was religious, if you really got down to it and you basically badgered them, maybe the answer would turn into, look, I don't know why I believe it, I just do.
Yeah.
But you'd have to sift through, more substantial reasons than that, I guess, until you got down to that. And maybe you'd never get there.
You'd have to drill to the rock bed, as it were.
Yeah.
Well, so one of the big eye-openers for me was, I thought all atheists were terrible human beings, because that's what I was told. Like, how dare you not believe in shit? And then I got to college, I went to private college, and there was an atheist there, and him and I used to have lunch every day together, every weekend together. And we'd go in around 10 a.m. and we would talk till 6. So we would go for breakfast and then stay through lunch and then stay through dinner and go home. And at that point, I had only done exactly what I was told. That was it. You're told this, do it. You don't have to question why. He showed me question. Because if the answer doesn't actually make sense to you, why the hell are you doing it? And then that over the course of the semester was a huge mind melter to me. I was like, holy shit, my whole fucking world is just blown up.
I think it's good to be skeptical. It's good to be skeptical about everything.
Yeah.
When I'm telling you about about anything, if I'm telling you about training, be skeptical.
Yeah.
No matter how big of an expert someone is, be skeptical of what they're saying. And if you don't understand, it's okay if you
ask
don't
a
understand,
question
but
too.
Try to get to a point of understanding.
But that's that moment. If the moment you don't understand, ask a question. Because people get in fear of the answer, or the fear that they're not going to find the answer out, or that nobody knows the answer is something they don't like. Just ask a fucking question. Keep asking questions. Keep asking.
And if you found the smartest guy in the world, whoever he is, and I bet you that's a curious motherfucker.
Probably
bet
is.
you he asks a lot of questions.
Probably gets in a lot of trouble too.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's one thing I've learned too over time is the more that I learn, I realize I know nothing. Which is when I was telling you with the kid with the car. He's like, oh man, you know a lot about cars. I don't know shit about cars, dude. Because that's in the grand scheme of things, that's 1% of cars.
It's the same thing, when I did my master's. The more you know The more you know, you don't know.
Yeah, and that's what's scary too, is how much you don't know. And that's because that question becomes 3 questions or 5 questions or 10 questions, and then those questions all sprawl out. You become a hydra of questions.
I just think it's good to keep an open mind. Like if Jesus Christ came down from the heavens, sucked my dick and said, I do exist, I'd be like, well, shit, I guess I'm religious now.
Well, that's what somebody, okay, so there was a conversation I was listening to where they were talking about, like how it's you can't hate on religion for one of the most paramount reasons being you're hedging your bets. Whether you fully believe or you don't believe. You're hedging your bets because for all we know, it could or couldn't exist. And what's so wrong with, putting a little bit of money in this stock, putting a little money in that stock, putting a little money, and like just having your portfolio diversified, because if it does happen to happen, you're like, okay. And if it doesn't happen to happen, you're like, okay. Like,
just keep an open mind about everything. That's all, because probably with everything I know, someone could tell me something on that could probably change my mind.
Well, that's too the most.
I mean, it's good to have values, but it's also good to, have some fluidity and flexibility.
Well, the problem too is when people dictate morals being equivalent to your religious status.
Right.
My wife is way more moral than I am, and she was not raised any religion. She's a hardcore atheist. She doesn't hate people who are religious. She doesn't do any of that stuff, but she's one of the most giving, caring people I've ever met in my entire life. And most people would look at her and be like, oh, you have good Christian values. She's like, I don't fucking believe. Like, get out of here.
I think another thing is if you have, I think the term good Christian values or good Jewish values or good Muslim values or good religious values, whatever, it probably exists for a reason.
Yeah.
But I had parents that, while they were religious and we went to church when I was a kid, the stuff about morals and values and being a good person, like I learned most of that just from my parents. I didn't learn it in Sunday school.
Yeah.
But not everyone grows up in a house like that. So maybe the only place they're going to learn how to act and the golden rule and the things you should and shouldn't do, maybe it is in church.
Maybe it is. Yeah, maybe that's what they need is that structure.
So again, maybe
like, it's in the military.
There's exactly. Like who am I to say where it is? But if the best option, I guess if you're not going to learn it anywhere else, then go to church. I don't know.
T-Pain said it. Ladies and gentlemen, you already know what it is. I'm going to take you right to church all day. So I'd like to usually wrap up around like, where is your future taking you? What do you have planned? What do you want to be doing? And then if anybody wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that? So like, what's on the docket for you?
Sure. Well, I think I'm going to try to do a strongman competition sometime in May.
Let me know when that is, because I would love to come see that.
I haven't signed up for it yet, but I think it'd be fun to do. I don't think I'm going to do another powerlifting meet until the fall or maybe early next year. Mm-hmm. I want to compete in the Rochester District Golf Championships this year, just because it's one of the things I've wanted to do.
Yeah.
Professionally, just want to keep building buildings, man.
Keep
building buildings. A lot is going on in downtown Rochester right now. A lot of buildings are getting redeveloped. Good apartments, good places to live. So I hope that I'm a part of a revitalization of downtown Rochester that ends up being good for the long term.
That's pretty sweet. Well, what are your power commitments? Like, what are you hoping to achieve by the end of this year on your 3?
550 squat, 350 bench, 650 deadlift. I already wrote it on a board. Yeah. And I think I'll be able to.
Those are solid ass numbers,
too.
I
mean, honestly, 605 today was pretty easy.
Yeah, and we're in February right now, so you've got 6+ months before the next possible meet. Like,
probably 10+ months before my next powerlifting meet.
If you wait until next year, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think the 550 squat, based on how good my squat was in the meet, I think that's in the cards. I think the 350 bench is probably going to be the hardest one to get for me personally. But I think 650 deadlift, I don't think it's going to be that hard.
That's exciting, dude. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm looking forward to it.
So what's that total?
1,500?
1,550?
Maybe. Yeah, something like that.
That's pretty cool,
man. Yeah, that'd be a solid total. And then,
if you want to watch this dude lift on Instagram, what's your tag?
Oh, man. I think it's CS Yarrington.
CS Yarrington.
Yarrington.
I'll tag you on the
cool.
When I share this.
CS Yarrington. That's pretty much it.
And then all you got to do is when I send you the link, you share the link.
No problem, babe.
That's it. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and do this.
Yeah.
If you ever want to come do one of the panels, I'll let you know what they are. You come doing them because we got conspiracy theory panel next month.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Dude, I appreciate your
Yeah.
time. Thanks, big guy.
Yeah.
We're out. We're going to be back next weekend, bitches. Oh, shit. Sorry, Eku, for... It was just about his life. So sorry. So sorry.
I gotta take a piss so bad.
Go.
I'm gonna go do it.
Go.
Is there one in the basement?
Yep. Back left corner.
Oh my god. My legs.
That's why I stopped there in the middle, because I had too much water earlier. Oh. I got to get better chairs. That's the next thing for this room.